So welcome everybody. Great to see you here. My name is Orlando Delgado Mata, Director of Teacher Training Operations at International House Mexico, and it's great to have you here join us today in this very exciting event. Um, so I would like to say hi to everybody. We have so many people. We have so many people from so many different places. We have people from well, basically the whole of the country. So from Veracruz, from Guadalajara, from Cancun, from Puebla, from so many different places. So I would like to hand it over to our General Director, Ariel Lopez, so that he can tell us a little bit what we're doing here and some words. So thank you, Ariel.
You cannot share your video because the host has spoken. Orlando, I cannot share my video because you don't allow me to share the video.
Fantastic. There you go.
Now I can share my video. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to International House University. Welcome to our very special event. It's, as Orlando was saying, yes, it's just, usually what I do, yes, is I just start listing all the cities of Mexico, of all the country where we have teachers visiting us today. Yes, but today just impossible. The list is so long. We have teachers from absolutely every single state, including Chiapas and Baja California Sur. We have teachers from absolutely every single state. So it would be a complete madness just to mention all of you and to mention all the cities. But welcome. It's fantastic. We've never had such a huge event. Also, welcome to our friends in Peru. Also, welcome all the teachers from Colombia who are here with us today. Yes, it's just great to have you here. All the states in Mexico as well. Yes, we're starting, yes, our year, a very complicated year, but it's also a very special year. Our event today is going to be full of surprises. We're going to give you a long list of things that will take place all throughout this academic year, yes, at International House University. We have some fantastic surprises, yes. Queremos que todos, sí, tomen nuestras nuevas licenciaturas, sí. Definitivamente necesitamos, ¿sí?, que todos tomen nuestras maestrías. That's the goal this year, masters and licenciaturas. It's going to be a great year. Yeah. And today I also want to mention all the fantastic team that is here with us at International House University. Not only the ones, who will be presenting today, like Carmen, Tim, and Keller, all of you today, yes. But also everybody who's part of the International House University staff who are behind the scenes. This is a great group. It's a fantastic professional group, yes, and of course the leader, Orlando. But anyway, it's a great, fantastic group, and I would like to say that we at International House University are very proud of having you around. Thank you for being part of us. And to all of you, now I think it's 400 teachers, yes, from several different countries and of course all over Mexico, thank you for being part of us. Thank you for being here with us. Yes, we promise that this event is going to be full of surprises. Thank you. And again, welcome to our launch date. Welcome to the beginning of what's going to be an extraordinary year that we promise at International House. All yours, Orlando.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ariel. So just like Ariel was saying, we would like to welcome you all, to this great adventure, the International House Day live experience. So I would like to, first of all, I would like to thank you for being here. Fantastic. I think people can hear fine. The sound is good. Is everybody saying fantastic? So, and I would like to start. Introducing you to the three speakers that are going to be with you for the next hour. We have three different speakers. Ariel, if you could please make me host again. I just made you host, but I'm going to introduce the three speakers. So I would like to introduce you to three wonderful people, three wonderful trainers, extremely well qualified, that have been part of the International House University team now for quite some time, and they're going to be with you. They're going to be with you for the next hour, right? So this is going to be there we go. So it's Tim Matsuda, Carmen Torres, and Heather Gaddis, right? Tim has been working with us for quite some time, and now he's been part of the International House University team for quite a few years. He's taken different roles, such as Director of Studies at International House Cancun, and he also specialized in educational technology, right? So he's very interesting in those topics now with COVID-19. I think that's very relevant. Also, Carmen Torres, she is one of our young learners specialist. She's working on our CELTA programs, and also she is a Trinity TESOL trainer, specialized in young learners. And also Heather Gaddis. Some of you are quite familiarized with Heather Gaddis. She also is quite an expert in digitalization and the world of educational technology. So the three of them are going to be with us for this first talk. Enjoy the talk, and all yours, Tim, Carmen, and Heather, all yours.
Okay, I guess you could hear me. I can't start my camera, but if you don't need that, I'd go ahead and get started. Yeah. All right, so I don't see the girls, but I know they're in here with me. So hi, girls. Good to see you, and good to see everyone here as well. Thank you so much for joining us. Like Orlando and Ariel said, our topic here is making online teaching sustainable. So we've all tackled a couple different areas in that we will talk about and share with you. You see what's going on in the chat here. Okay, they're saying I could start my camera. There we go. Hey guys. Nice to see so many people here. Thanks so much for joining us. Like I said, our topic today is making online teaching sustainable. And the three of us will be talking as Orlando introduced us, since I'll be starting off with the work-life balancing act. And so now that most of us are working from home, we've had to learn how to teach online, and we've had to learn how to manage our work and home lives under one roof, right? Now, I've worked from home or from a portable office for over 20 years now, so I have some top tips just from my experience to help you reduce stress, be more productive during your day, and maybe even come to enjoy working from home. Now, I do have a live poll going on, so you could go to this website here, or you could scan the QR code if you want to vote. And I will also, if you're on Zoom with us, I will put it in the chat. There you go. So I put the link in the chat so you could go there and you can vote on the first question. And keep this open because there'll be some other questions throughout the presentation. All right. So good. So the four topics we're going to cover is one, how to trick your brain into being more productive during the day. And then the second topic, importance of having clear physical boundaries between your work life and your home life. Number three, how to manage work and home when you live with other people, which could bring different challenges. And then number four is doing little things throughout the day to keep yourself productive and motivated. All right. So good. So let's start here with the routine hack, because it matters how we start the day. Yes, but before I get into this, everyone, this is your last chance to vote. So go ahead and click on the link or scan the QR code there, and then we'll see. Do you get dressed for work or do you work in your pajamas? So that's the big question. Be honest, this is completely anonymous. No one's going to know which way you answer. And if you look at the guy in the picture, that's pretty much me. I mean, I put on the shirt, I make sure I look professional, but I'm wearing my comfortable shorts. Not my underwear, but my shorts. No, because it's more comfortable. I'm here in Cancun, it's very hot, so I don't want to wear pants. So that's me. Let's see how you guys did in the results. So it says, wow, about most of you, 90% of you guys get dressed for work, and some of you guys, about 10% of you, just stay in the same clothes you slept in. Interesting, interesting. Well, thank you so much. Yes, about 90%, 9%. Thank you so much for helping out with that, you guys. So, yes, even more than teaching at a school, a strict routine is really important when you're working from home because one, you don't have the directors or coordinators or your colleagues, right, to keep you accountable for your hours. No one's monitoring what you do for work during the day, and you don't have to rely on the bus or public transportation schedules or the traffic to know when to leave the house in the morning, right? And the beauty of leaving the house in the morning and going to work every day is you get to leave the house and go to work every day, right? It's a rhythm, it's automatic, it's something that you do. Well, unfortunately, when you start working from home, that routine goes away. And that can be a dangerous thing because that can lead to slower starts and longer finishes for your day. So, although you might have more freedom in how you work, this could also mean you procrastinate or you get lazy, you get unproductive. And so, even though you don't have to clock in each day, you should choose to have a morning routine that'll set you up for a productive day. So that means setting up an alarm, getting up at the same time each day, right? Do what you need to do in order to get your day started the correct way. And part of that means make sure you change into regular clothes or at least change out of the clothes you were sleeping in, right? Because as comfortable as it is to work in your pajamas, please don't. Trust me, the ritual of changing out of what you were sleeping in and putting something new on, that mentally tricks your brain to get ready for the day, yes? So as part of the morning routine, change into something comfortable, right? But not something that you would fall asleep in. And so, yes, so to be productive, we have to accommodate this new way of working and define a new morning routine. Now, ready is different for everyone, right? For me, it's taking a shower, make my bed, get dressed, and of course, make sure I have my cup of coffee. Now, for you, it may be a different routine. So find what your ready is, and even if no one sees it, you'll see it and you'll know that you're ready, right? And another thing that was part of routine was having an office or a classroom or a physical space that was just for work. And when you're in this space, your mind and your body know it's time for work. And so that's what the second question will go to. So you could go to the same link, and you could vote on the second question now. Do you have a work area that's separate or that's dedicated just for work? Thank you so much. Yes, they put the link back in there. So yes, you could go to the link and vote. Do you have a dedicated work area just for work? Oh, wow, well, that was excellent. And for most of us, about half, all right, have a regular spot to work in, which is great. And then there's a couple of us that don't have a same spot to work. And of course, this could depend on your situation, right? Family situation, living situation, it all matters. But it's certainly very, very important to have a space for work, right? Because when you work from home, you don't have the physical boundaries. So it makes it really difficult to be able to switch between home and work mode. Right? And this is worse if you don't have a home office, like some of you do. So it's great. You could close the door to distractions because everything at home is a distraction, right? You sit down at your coffee table, you have your laptop, you have your papers or whatever you're working on. And then there's so many household things that come into your view all of a sudden, right? The laundry, the cleaning that has to be done over there, the comfortable sofa, my TV, Netflix, right? There's all these things that you can do now because you're at home. Right? So if you're lucky, like many of us here, about 40% of us, if you're lucky, then you have another room that you could go to. You could close the door and close out those distractions. Well, some of us don't have this luxury, so find a spot where you could work comfortably. Yeah. I live in the studio right now, so I made this little corner of my room into my workspace. I have my small table, I have my laptop with all the things I need for work, and so this corner of my studio is for work. And I also recommend you find a place in your home that becomes your regular spot for work, because this teaches your brain the new routine so you could mentally and physically be at work when you're in this space, right? And the opposite is also true. When you're finished working for the day, you can physically and mentally leave work and you can leave your workspace, right? So this is an important fact of mentally creating those boundaries. And if you have to work in a shared area like a kitchen or a coffee table in the living room, that's okay. Just make a routine out of setting up your workspace in the morning and then put everything away at the end of the day. And that creates the same routine of physical separation. Now, there is one tool that every teacher working online needs to have, and maybe you already have it. It doesn't matter if you have your own home office or if you're working from your sofa or your bed, right? This tool is a must-have. And I'm sure Orlando will talk about it a little bit later, but we're going to be launching our new webinar series on October 8th. And so to see what this mystery tool is, definitely come join us. The first webinar, we'll be talking about home life balance and then some practical online teaching tips. Yeah, so make sure you come check it out and find out what this mystery tool is as well. Oh, wow, I don't know what happened there. There you go, guys. Excellent. Okay, so then the next thing we'll talk about here is when you have a office or a classroom, it's great because you know you're at work, but your friends and family know you're at work too, right? Hey, where's Tim? Oh, he's at the university. He's at work. But now it's, where's Tim? Oh, he's at home. Maybe I'll call him and see if he wants to play some Call of Duty, right? They don't know, they don't realize you might be at home, but you're at work. And when you share your living space with your spouse, your family, it's worse. If you have young children, it's 10 times worse. And if the person who you live with also works from home, it can turn any harmonious home life into a crazy nightmare, right? And so before we get into this next tip, where's my question? Here we go. This is your last chance to vote for question 3. Have you found work-life balance with the people you live with? And what do we have here? All right, so about a third of us have found perfect harmony. Very nice. Half of us, more or less, right? Compromises, you're figuring out how to do these things. And then about 10% of us, the other people in the house just don't understand that I'm working. So yes, that is a very common problem when you live with other people. So schedules are so important, and Heather will talk more about schedules in a moment. Let's see, where are we? Here we go. So Heather will talk about schedules here in a moment in her talk. But schedules are important because it gives you boundaries on your time, right? So you could be 100% at work during work hours, and you could be 100% at home when you're not working. So the first thing you have to do is have a calendar, and that gives you clear boundaries that you can share with your friends and your family so they know when you're at work and they know when you're at home. And you could share the calendar, and you could explain to your kids as well, because they will understand that people should not bother you during work hours. Now, the next thing, and this is really important because this whole thing only works if you do this. Outside work hours do not work. Yeah, as tempted as you might be, you're working on a big project, you have a deadline, outside work hours do not work, yes? This way your friends and your family, especially the spouses and kids, will understand mommy and daddy's busy during this time, but you'll be there for them 100% after work, right? If they know that you will be there for them 100% after work, they will bother you less during your work hours. So just make sure to respect the calendar. And like I said, if you and your spouse or someone you live with, you both work from home, it could become very complicated. And we'll talk about that on October 8th during that seminar. But remember this mystery tool I told you about? Well, this could help in this situation as well. It's super cheap. You could get it at Walmart. So make sure you join us on October 8th to learn about that. And we'll go on to our last question or the last topic here, and that's don't forget about you. So sometimes we work so hard and it feels like we haven't accomplished anything at all. Other days we get a lot done, but we don't have energy for anything else. And so the question here is, do you take regular breaks during the day? And do you reward yourself for accomplishments? Yeah, small wins, small wins. It doesn't have to be a big major accomplishment, but small wins. And yes, half of us do both. Excellent, excellent. And then 30% of us do one or the other, which is good. That's a good start. You're halfway there. And then some of us, it looks like about 20% do neither. Okay. So yes, it's super, super obvious. I know it's super obvious, but super important to take a break. And I know not enough people do. That's why they have applications like this on your computer that'll freeze your computer until you take a break and come back. And so super obvious, but very important, take a break, right? We're sitting in front of the laptop for so many hours, but each for 1 hour, take a 5-10 minute break, or if it's a 2 hour stretch, take a 10-15 minute break. Yeah, just to stretch, to give yourself a mental break, a physical break. If you can, get outside, get in the sun, walk away from the workspace, right? Check your Facebook, check your Twitter, play some video games, take a nap, do something just for a little bit to disconnect from the work so you could come back refreshed and productive. But yes, minimum 5 to 10 minutes each hour, or 10 to 15 minutes every 2 hours. Minimum stand up, stretch, take a couple deep, refreshing breaths. If you live in a small space, make sure you open the windows to get the fresh air in, but that will help you be more productive. And celebrate the small wins, right? Reward yourself for accomplishments. Like I said, even the small accomplishments. For example, for me, I teach a lot of CELTA courses. So after each CELTA course, once I finish a course, I order dinner from my favorite fancy restaurant. And so while I work hard during the course, I have something to look forward to when I finish. And believe it or not, this mystery tool I talked about can also help you in taking care of yourself. So again, don't forget to join us again on October 8th to find out what this mystery tool is. And so to wrap it up here, you want to create a new morning routine and stick to it to have a nice productive day. Make a designated workspace. So during work hours, you could mentally and physically separate yourself from home distractions. And then use a calendar to set clear boundaries with your friends and family, right? And take advantage from working from home and take care of yourself, right? Mindfulness matters. And Carmen will tell you about this next. And so, Carmen, I'll go ahead and pass it off to you. I guess I have to make you host. Give me a second here. And I think we might have had some questions. Did we have any? Yeah, go jogging. Did we have any questions come up in the Q&A, Carmen or Heather? Looks like Monica has a good question. What is the question? Yes, playing video games every now and then is a nice reward. What are we supposed to do when the workload overflows working schedule? Well, what would you normally do at work? I mean, sometimes we have to extend the working schedule a little bit to accommodate certain tasks, right? But usually work would stay at work. So when you came home, you could deal with home. And that's what I mean by the separation. So if you have to extend your work hour a little bit to make sure you get things done, that's okay. But at the same time, when you're not working, make sure you could completely 100% focus on your family, your kids, or just taking care of yourself. Yeah. And like a lot of people say, Nintendo Switch, playing video games to distract yourself a little bit, to take a break. Excellent way to do that. Yeah. Organize and prioritize, another way. Yes. Scheduling, I could talk about for hours and hours, because that all comes down to scheduling and using your time smarter instead of working harder. Yes. And like I said, Heather will touch on some of these topics. And so I think she might be able to, or she will answer some of these questions during her talk. Yeah. Do we see any other listening to music is a nice way? Excellent. All right. So Carmen, you're now host, so you could go ahead and take over whenever you're ready. You guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Thanks so much for joining me and participating in the voting and the presentation. I think that's the okay. Yes, good.
Okay. Tim,
And so yes,
can you actually make me the host, since I'm going to share the screen for the presentation?
Actually, Carmen's host now, so Carmen would have to do that.
Or Carmen can make me co-host so I can share the screen.
That'll work too. And yeah, I hope you found those tips helpful. And like I said, on October 8th, these tips came from my bigger talk we'll be doing on October 8th. So we'll talk more about this. And again, some practical teaching tips now that a lot of us are teaching online. So I kind of put those ideas together to talk about that on October 8th. So definitely come join us. And here we go. Looks like Heather, you're all set. So I will pass it over to you girls. Thank you very much, everyone. You guys have a wonderful rest of your evening and hope to see you on October 8th for the webinar. Bye-bye.
Hello, everyone. Hi, my name is Carmen. I'm really glad to be here and discuss some of the ideas that we have to face some new situations in this time. Don't know what can I put my camera? Heather.
Yes, give me, because I need to make you the co-host. Okay, but okay. Make co-host. So yes. So try it now, Carmen.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Tim. I just want to follow up on what Tim was mentioning on having a healthier work-life balance with this new world that we're facing in terms of working almost every day, 7 days a week on our computers, and having a healthier lifestyle, which is a goal that we're facing nowadays. So Tim mentioned mostly organizing your schedule, and I'm going to share some of my ideas of how I organize my schedule, because we have so many different courses on different days of the week, morning, evenings, Saturdays, evening, afternoon, and we also have a big family. We have to pay attention to other things. So basically organizing our schedule ahead, like adding recurrent events to our, such as the teaching hours, to our maybe Google Calendar apps, and sharing it with our office calendar works. Sharing the calendar, our work calendar, with family members, as Tim mentioned, really helps, because they are full aware of your office hours, office home hours. So you wouldn't get so many distractions as they can take place if you're not warning them when you're working or not working. So sharing your Google Calendar with your family members, or maybe with colleagues, and to schedule meetings ahead, really helps you. Adding in those calendars, adding at least an hour of exercise a day really helps as well. It can be any kind of exercise: yoga, cycling, going for a walk, or just meditating in front of a window or in a dark bedroom really helps. But at least 50 to 60 minutes a day does the trick. It can be morning, it can be afternoon, it can be evening, depending on your schedule, your teaching hours. You can blend it in. However, 50 to 60 minutes must really helps you. I mean, I don't have a poll like Tim had, but I'm pretty sure that everybody dedicates some time to some exercise. Maybe walking around the house can be something very relaxing at some point, because you can actually start thinking about how to plan or not to plan at all. And exercising just relaxes your and sets your mind blank. Eating healthy is, I think, one of our main priorities, not only for work or online work, but in general health mode. And so before, when we would go outside and outdoor activities and take a public transport or get stuck in our traffic jam, meals would be mainly 3 meals a day because of all the activity that you're going through on that day. But now that we're working from home, plan your meals ahead. Plan your meals ahead, and maybe lighter or healthier meals, because your physical activity is not as strong as when we would used to go get on our car, drive to work, go pick up our kids from school, go maybe to another meeting back in the office. So actually, 2 meals a day, 2 big healthy meals a day would also do the trick. So how many hours are you teaching today, or how many hours are you teaching this week? Plan ahead, plan your menus, and then you can have a healthier menu during that week. If you have a big family, if you have 2 or 3 children, if you are living with your siblings, if you're living with your parents and your grandparents, it can be a little bit overwhelming to concentrate and organize in a workspace. But like Tim said, you must have your own private space, a little room where you have your laptop or your tablet together, and all your material for your lesson would do the trick. If you're working behind closed doors, that can send a signal that you're busy, of course, and family members will not interrupt. So because you are sharing your schedule, your calendar beforehand, they will be fully aware. Okay, these are teaching hours. This is my sister's working environment. I will not disturb her. So it's also a matter of communicating and letting everybody know what's your schedule, because your schedule nowadays that you're working from home disappeared, but now you have to redo it. So letting everybody, all those loved ones, know when and where you're working really helps. And unscheduled things will come up. For instance, you're teaching a lesson and you might get a WhatsApp, or you might get an email that pops up, and you have to deal with that right there and then, but you cannot leave your lesson, or you cannot leave your students unattended. That does happen quite a lot, unscheduled, unplanned things. I think the most important thing is to realize what you're doing right now is your full attention to your students or to your lesson, and prioritize. So what is the most important thing that you do right now? You're teaching, and then how can you accommodate, or how can you solve the second most important thing that just came up? And then if it's not as important as what you're doing right now, yeah, you can leave it and postpone it. But organize those unplanned things and prioritize them will help you, and will not overstress you, because emergencies do come up all of a sudden, and you have not planned for them, and unscheduled things. So just relax and prioritize and think, how can you solve this first? Unplug at least once a week. That I mean Saturdays or Sunday, or whenever maybe you're working on a Saturday, maybe you're also teaching on a Sunday, depending on the time zone you're delivering the course. So sometimes Sundays is a weekday for another country or culture, so you have to work on Sundays. But during the week, I would always recommend unplug. So no laptop, no computer, no cell phone. It's just you, and maybe go and do some yoga again, go and do some exercise, spend some time with your family. Just maybe comment on what plans you have, but really not work related at all, because you go into this vicious cycle and wanting to share what you did at work, but not on that day. That day is just you focusing on what you would like to do for fun, relaxing, and other things that bring forward a healthier lifestyle. Apart from that, sometimes we want more so in these last few months, we've all wanted to maybe go outside, go to a restaurant, or have a drink with our friends. And sometimes, and of course, due to this situation, it is not easy, it is not possible. Many restaurants are still closed, and socializing and relaxing outside our home is almost impossible. So what I've done is, whenever I have the time to go grocery shopping, I try to look on YouTube for new cookery tutorials and come up with different plates. It relaxes me. I invite some of my family's close relatives to join, but I don't put them at risk, and we don't put at risk other people. So looking for something new to do, like cooking, or a way of socializing healthy style, also works. Other ideas of having a healthier lifestyle would be trying to create a sort of a ritual or competition with family members, if you're living with your big family, and how much new things have they learned, maybe in English, maybe in a specific subject, how much different things have they learned. Try and also learn with them together. So, because learning new things also helps you in your job be more open-minded towards different situations that occur, and you can help also your learners and how to improve their learning habits. So you learning, they learn from you. It's a good vicious cycle in that sense. Yeah. Were there any questions? I think that's pretty much, because I've recycled some of what Tim mentioned into blending it into living a healthier lifestyle. Or maybe do we have any questions?
No specific questions. A lot of comments about how people are scheduling their exercise and how they've changed some of their habits. For example, apparently grocery shopping is the new way to socialize, because you were talking about socialization. So
no, we have to remember social distance.
Yeah.
But maybe organizing with a family member. Today I'm going to cook this specific pasta, and one of my cousins went and get the wine. I bought the pasta. Another person bought the sauce, and together we did the socializing in the kitchen, cooking, instead of going out to a restaurant and maybe being at risk.
One topic that one person did bring up, Carmen, that maybe you can share your experience on, is procrastination. So one person said that it's something that they're working on. Is that something that you've worked on? And do you have any tips to share about how to fight procrastination?
Well, the old style, I have Post-its, but no, I always prioritize what I have to do for that day. Or what is more important by the end of the week. I try to do it first. I know it can be difficult and it can seem difficult to fully accept how important it is to get things done, because we're inside our apartments, inside our house, and maybe going to the office was like the switch that gave you the tip to start on a project. But just think of the results of that project, of that task, and set your own deadline. That's what I've been doing, setting my own deadlines into prioritizing my tasks.
Okay. So I'm going to start sharing my video. Okay. Hello, everybody. So I'm going to go next. I'm going to continue on from what Carmen is talking about. So she was talking about balancing and having a healthy lifestyle. And I definitely agree with her about prioritizing. So a technique that really worked for me to kind of help get me in shape was the Pomodoro method. It's Pomodoro is meaning tomato in Italian for like the timers you can set. And the what the Pomodoro method does is have you set 25-minute Pomodoros or times when you're going to do something and then take a 5-minute break. And what it's supposed to do is to help you achieve some sort of flow. So 25 minutes working and doing nothing else except that task, and then 5 minutes, and then 25 minutes. And you're supposed to, as Carmen said, set priorities with that method. So you say, well, I think this task is going to take me 3 25-minute periods, and then you continue. And if you see that something's going to take you like more than 5 25-minute periods, you might want to consider breaking it down into smaller, more manageable chunks. So because sometimes what I think we procrastinate is we just don't really, we know it's going to be hard and we know it's going to take us a long time, and so we kind of push off those kind of things. And another thing I've noticed, because I've been working as a freelancer for the past 2.5 years now, is that there are moments of my week that I'm feel more productive than others. Definitely Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are more productive than Thursday and Friday. So that's something that, as much as possible, when you do have some flexibility to schedule things, to think about, you can't just go like push through the entire week. You need to consider, when do you feel more productive, or when do you feel more productive to do certain tasks. And as Carmen and Tim also talked about, for me, my calendar is very important. My boyfriend will always ask me on Sunday, hey, how's your week gonna be? And I'm like, you have access to my calendar. Like that's how my week's gonna be. Or my sister will say, oh, how's your, can we do this the next week? I'm like, you have access to my calendar. So my calendar is very important for me, especially now. Right now, I'm working in two time zones, and so the calendar really helps me to schedule things with people who are in a different time zone from me and be where I need to be when I'm supposed to be there. So what I'm going to talk about specifically today is the idea of a communication plan. So we've talked a lot about scheduling exercise and free time, or procrastination, or playing video games, or thinking about how we're going to use our time in that way. But one topic we haven't talked specifically about is communication. And so teachers have always been communicators, right? We'd like to talk. We do a lot of it. And we've always communicated with students. We give them feedback. We teach classes. We send them emails. We also communicate with our colleagues, right? Either about a meeting that's coming up, or sending them a plan to our director, or sharing ideas and things like that. And also we have to communicate with parents in the case that we're teaching young learners about their child's performance. But nowadays, I think that communication can feel quite overwhelming. So I think that one of the reasons that teaching via Zoom or teaching online is exhausting is because we always feel that we're on. And part of that feeling that we're always on is because we always see our phone, and we have notifications coming in, emails coming in. And so we always feel that we immediately have to respond to them. But having a communication plan can help us to set some limits. So some things that a communication plan might include would be when. When are you going to communicate with your students? How are you going to communicate with your students, right? So are you going to communicate through the learning management system? Are you going to communicate through WhatsApp? Are you going to communicate through email? So how are you going to communicate with them? And then how often? So again, this is going to depend on your teaching context. Are you teaching at a language school where you have class with students 2 days a week? Or are you teaching at a bilingual school where you're going to see the students every day? But how often are you going to communicate with them? And so what all of this does when we have a plan, one, it helps to set expectations for ourselves and also for our students. So it helps us to, like, as I said, to set limits on how we will communicate, when we communicate, and why we're communicating with our students. And I think that is also, it sets an expectations for the students that they don't feel panicky, that they don't know when the teacher is going to send information, or they don't know how it's going to be structured. They don't know how long the teacher is going to take to respond. So just to give you an example, I was teaching an initial teacher training course for people who want to become teachers like you. And I needed to send the link to our students, so the guinea pigs who are going to be my students every week, and the Zoom link. And so every week I would send it at 8:30. Every week. Class started at 10. And one day I sent it at like, it was 8:40. I hadn't sent it yet. And I had a student saying, "But teacher, are we having class today? Are we having class today?" Because I was 10 minutes late in sending the link. All of these students were panicked that we weren't going to have class that day. So they had, without me kind of ever saying it, they had adjusted to this schedule of this expectation of every Saturday at 8:30, Heather sends us the link. And that, and it was kind of their way probably of thinking, okay, I saw the email from Heather. That reminded me I have class at 10. And so, having this kind of regular kind of communication, one, makes it more manageable for you, and also makes it more manageable for the students to know when and how and what. So some things that we might include in some specific questions we might include in a communication plan would be when we're considering students. So as I said, we might think about, when will I post assignments? And how will assignments be collected and returned to students? Another consideration might be, how quickly will I get back to students? So if you tell students, hey, if you send me a question that's not urgent, let's consider you have class with students twice a week, and if you say to them, hey, if you send me a question, I'll get back with you within 24 hours. Then students know, and they learn to expect that you're not going to be responding to them immediately, right? You might, if you see it, but they can expect a response within 24 hours. Another would be about feedback. So this is also manageable for us. So, we used to, prior to COVID, prior to teaching so much online, we would maybe teach during, we would do feedback or do some grading in our free periods, or probably at home after we got home from work. And now that boundary of when we're going to get feedback to students is a little bit fuzzier. So, if students turn something in every Monday and Wednesday, when are you going to commit to get feedback to them? And that helps the feedback be more manageable for you, because if we let things go, then you have all of these assignments that you need to get feedback on. It can be very overwhelming. Another thing would be families. So if you're teaching young learners, or you have to communicate with your students' families for some reason, what is the expectation, again, for families to receive a response? And I know from talking to teachers who are teaching young learners, are teaching in high schools, this is something that's very stressful. So again, if you start to set some limits about how and when and how long it will take you, I think it will be very, it might be a little bit difficult in the beginning, but I think it will be very helpful in the long run. And I'll tell you a secret, I do not have WhatsApp, and there's a lot of pressure for me to have WhatsApp. But one of the reasons is that's a boundary that I have decided to set for my own personal mental health and time management. And I communicate, I'm very clear with people about how I communicate with them. It will be via email, and I generally get back to people very quickly. And another consideration that we might have in our communication plan is personal communication management. And what this refers to is you putting in your schedule, just like we've talked about many times during this presentation, you putting in, when will you sit down and respond to questions from students and parents, or from colleagues as well. So maybe you say, okay, I have class every day. If you're teaching at a bilingual school, elementary school, your class starts at 7:35. So maybe you're going to sit down every day from 7 to 7:30, 7 to 7:25, and that's going to be your first time when you check email or messages or notifications, depending on what kind of system you're using. And then maybe you have at the end of the day. So if your classes end at 3, you're going to sit down from 3 to 3:30, and that's when you're going to do emails. Or I think I saw Natalie saying she had 7 sessions one day. So maybe during that day, it's going to have to be at a different time. But the idea would be that you schedule the time to sit down, and that you're not feeling that every single time an email comes in and that you have to stop lesson planning or stop doing your feedback in order to respond to that message. Because what that does is every single time you stop doing a task that does require your attention and you go and you check the email or you respond to the WhatsApp, it takes you longer to get back on task. So you come back and it takes you like a minute or two to say, what was I doing? Where was I? How was I doing this? And then it takes you even longer and it becomes frustrating, right? And you're like, oh, like it's taking me forever to grade these essays, or it's great taking me forever to watch my students' videos. And it's not really taking you forever. What it is you're constantly being interrupted and you're not just dedicating 100% of your brain power to that for a shorter amount of time. Okay. And then would be the last part I would talk about would be the live session communication management. So what this refers to is Zoom sessions or Google Meet sessions, or if you're using WebEx or whatever live video conferencing platform you're using. And this would be particularly concerning or of particular interest if you are teaching young learners, would be how will students check in? So how are you going to take attendance with students? For example, do they need to actually turn on their video? Do they need to write something in the chat to you to know that they're there? Are you going to check in at different times during the session? You know, they have to maybe turn on their video at the beginning, the middle, and the end so that you know that they're there. Because I've worked with some schools recently, and this is a concern, especially with secondary and high school learners. Young learners are kind of more okay with because they want to see their classmates, but secondary and high school learners are definitely becoming very skilled at faking their their attendance in a session. And so teachers are struggling with how do you manage communication with students during these live sessions. And then what happens if a student is absent, right? So in the past, if a student was absent, we would notice, right, and when we went into the classroom, but it wouldn't necessarily always be our responsibility as teachers to do anything about that student's absence. So, we might say something to the principal or the director might tell us, or the counselor, depending on what situation. Or after 1 or 2 absences, you might say, you might email a student depending on your context, but it wasn't necessarily our responsibility as teachers to do that. That often went to a different type of staff member in the school. But now that it's we're not physically going to a school and students aren't either, what happens if a student is absent? Is there a system that I need to communicate with parents, or is that going to be communicated to staff members and then that's funneled through it? So now that, the way that we interact with each other is different, I would say the way that some of these communication activities need to be done is also has to be different. Who has the responsibility for this and when is it going to be done? Because again, one of the things I think that's overwhelming about teaching online is the communication aspect, that it's a lot more to respond to 50 messages about an assignment than, responding in the classroom in person with the students when they had a doubt about a particular topic, or you could just call on the phone or things like that. I think now things are much more overwhelming. So I see Ana Isabel responded to the my comment about the live session communication management, having them go back to sleep, or who knows what they're doing. Maybe they're playing Minecraft, or maybe, things like that. So, and I see also Merle wrote about getting into our school's WhatsApp message, our group. That was actually why I decided to never have WhatsApp, to be honest. It seemed very overwhelming. And my school liked for us to communicate through email, and I decided to stick with that. So now I'm going to take a couple of questions. We're coming up into the end of the hour, and we have a couple of minutes for questions. It can be about anything that I talked about, or if Tim talked about, or Carmen. So you can either put them in the chat, or you can put them, I'm going to go see if there's any in the Q&A.
Heather, yeah, there was a
Yes.
question from Valerie. I put
Okay.
in my 2 cents, but she asked, how can you fix bad communication with your students when there's bad Wi-Fi connection in their houses?
Well, one of the things I like to do, and I'm assuming, Valerie, that you're talking about bad communication during the live sessions. And so one of the things I like to do is to everything that I'm going to say in terms of instructions, I also have it on the screen. So right now, for example, you're seeing the main points that I'm talking about. So even if you're having some trouble understanding me, you're not going to lose everything. So what I like to do is I have an agenda at the beginning of a session or of a class with students saying, okay, we're going to talk about A, B, C, and D. And then I like to have the short version of instructions on the screen, because even if students have okay Wi-Fi and the Wi-Fi is not the issue, we're dealing with English language learners, right? And if we want to keep things as much as possible in English, we need to use visual aids in addition to actually saying the instructions. And I think we can also do a lot of modeling on the screen with, if we want to show students, okay, I want you to match these, or I want you to do this, we can always be sharing our screen. Because I'll tell you, I'm taking a French class and my teacher does not do this, and I often feel lost because I'm an A2 learner of French, right? So I need you, as lower level learners of English, they need the reinforcement of hearing you say it, but also seeing it on the screen. We can share our book and circle things and do the first one with students. We can write the instructions on the screen. We can do a lot of that modeling, and I think that's very helpful for students. And also us having our camera on as much as possible. I know that it's not always possible to have our camera on during a whole session because of the Wi-Fi issue, but that's one thing. And one thing, Valerie, I found works, it helps to stabilize your internet, is you can get an adapter or an Ethernet cable to connect directly to your modem if that's possible, so that your internet becomes more stable. I'm not saying it gives you the greatest internet in the world, but you can get either an Ethernet and an adapter so you can be connected directly to your modem, and that helps at least with your internet. Mhm. Okay, any other questions? Let me look at the chat. Oh, I see a Q&A again. Oh, okay. I think that's a personal question in the chat or in the Q&A for someone else. Okay, so I don't see any other. Did anybody else, Carmen or Tim, did anybody have any questions for them? Mm-hmm.
We're here.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I see Natalie. Yeah, so Natalie, thank you for backing me up on that. A lot of times I think people are afraid to set limits with parents and with students, but I think once we get them into a schedule, right, that they know, okay, so the teacher's gonna, if I send an email at 8:30 at night or 10:30 at night, the teacher is going to respond to me from 7:30 to 8. Well, once we get them into that pattern and they feel like we are listening to them, I think they will support our boundaries for the most part. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So and make sure they're not playing. Yeah, Jose Ernesto, I think that's a great idea in terms of making sure they're with us. I think sometimes teachers, it's going online. We kind of go back to more of a teacher-centered, and we're kind of afraid to do pair work. But I think as we move forward into this, we're getting more comfortable with doing some more interesting student-centered dynamics in the classroom. And I think that's a great way to make sure that they're still there, right? One of my favorite things of making sure that they're there and participating is making them the teacher. So, and even my adult students love it. I'm like, okay, Xiomara, you're the teacher now. And then they get to say, well, what is the answer to number 1? And what is the answer number 2? And I'm there in case there are doubts, but they really like it, right? And they get to take over the session for the feedback part. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So I think we're going to take a couple minutes between sessions, and I'm going to hand it back over to Orlando so that he can make that transition. I see a couple more questions. Okay. Elvia, that is a so answer for the child. I think that's um I think that's a struggle for everybody teaching young learners right now. But I think one thing, instead of seeing the parents as a as someone that's not doing what they're supposed to be doing, I think we should try to bring them in as allies. Right now I'm actually in the United States helping my nephew who's in third grade, and I'm there the entire day, sitting beside him during his classes. And so for me, like, I can see when he's not paying attention and I say something to him, but because it's very difficult for an 8-year-old to sit there. So I think recognizing what the role of the parent is and being very clear about what the boundaries are. And also, when we really want to praise, we really want to foster that autonomy, looking to praise the students, maybe having a badge at the end of the class or the end of the day for the students who worked independently. And so you're you're praising, or you're recognizing positive behavior. And then then more and more students are going to want to get that badge of having worked independently. So, instead of kind of setting it up as a us versus them, try to kind of recognize students who are doing the end of work as independently as possible. And also thinking about, well, when can students do this by themselves, and when might I need to make sure that they have some support? Okay, so let me make the Orlando the host. Okay, oh, there we go. Okay. Okay, so
Hey Heather, we had one more question
come.
pop in from Andres.
Okay.
Which activities could help the students not to get bored and therefore improve the communication quality because because there's a lot of time in front of the screen?
Well, I think this is going to depend on the age of the students, and their tech skills or their ability, to type and things like that. And also, I think that brings me to one thing. In order for the students to really be able to interact, we do need to develop their technology skills a little bit more, with a little bit more intention. So, like I said, I'm working with my 8-year-old nephew. He knows how to control C, control copy, and control paste, because that I consider to be an essential skill for him to work on a computer. But one of the things I think we need to consider is using technology in a specific way that allows students to interact with each other. So don't be afraid to use breakout rooms if you are using Zoom. I know they can be scary and that it's a way of losing control, and you'll go in and maybe students are kind of doing what they're supposed to, but we have to give some of that control away and be okay with it. Allow students to interact and collaborate using Google Slides or using Google Jamboard. Finding these ways, not just using technology to replace what we did in the classroom, but using it to do things that weren't possible in the classroom. Um, and also with younger learners, especially making sure the activities are as short as possible, and that we're considering what they can do with the technology, because it's very frustrating for students when they don't know how to drag something or they don't know how to draw something. So kind of really thinking that through, before we assign things, because one of the most, I think, difficult things for students is doing kind of what you're doing now, just sitting there watching screen and not being able to give their opinion or talk or interact with their classmates, because that's what they're missing the most right now.
Cool. Heather, one more question came in from Maria Guadalupe, and this is a really good one because I had a roommate that used to teach kids, and I used to see this a lot. What can you do when parents use bad language to their kids before the class starts, right? Because sometimes I would see her with them and kids in tears because mom just yelled at them for something, and then you have to start class, right? So what would you do in this situation?
Well, this is delicate because we don't know what's going on. We get a snippet, we get a little piece of what's going on, and you don't know what the battles are, and we don't want to get onto the battlefield. But I would say that this is a time for, if you're teaching at schools, for us to lean on the school psychologists maybe more than we have in the past. Either bringing them in to talk to parents, because I think parents are also at a loss for what to do with their kids all day, or how to handle all of the stress that they may be feeling financially, and then that the kids are, and that, especially if they live in a smaller house or if there's multiple people and the internet keeps going down. Everybody's stress level is very high, including children. So I think that we might bring in, school psychologist, or the person in charge of that area or counseling, whatever it's called in your school, to help support us. And maybe giving tips to parents about, for example, what Tim was talking about, of setting up a routine and setting up a space and how to work online. Kids need to know that too. And I think that sometimes that's the stressful part. Parents need to be supportive of helping the kids be ready on time in the morning, not eating in front of the screen. And so a lot of times that's the stressful part. So leaning on the school psychologist and giving parents tips to help them help their children, and just treading as lightly as possible, being careful about how we deal with it, because again, we don't know. We only see a little bit of what's going on. So trying to have as much grace and patience and understanding with people as possible. I'll give you a story. Today, my nephew was on his class, and there was a student who was told several times to put his shirt on because he did not have a shirt on. Who knows what was going on at this child's house that he did not have a shirt on? But the teachers were as patient. They were like, "Please put your shirt on, or turn your camera off. Please put your shirt on." So just being as patient as possible, as flexible as possible, and just as understanding as possible, because that's what we need right now, I think.
All right, Heather, they keep coming in. I have another
Oh.
one for you from Nancy. What can you do when students do not want to talk and turn off their cameras?
Some of this, I think, is going to depend on the policy at your school. Just like when we were physical in a classroom, we had certain rules about how students behave in the classroom, or if they're allowed to go out of the classroom and things like that. And some of that's about what I was meaning when I was talking about live session communication management. How are you going to handle certain behaviors, having a specific code of conduct or social contract for those sessions. And so I would include that. Are you going to have students have their camera on, or are you just going to have them have their microphone on? And I would take into account maybe the time of day that your class is. If your class is at 7:30 in the morning on a Friday, maybe you need to do a little brain break, getting them up, or having them do something fun, not specifically academic, and not take it personally. Sometimes they don't want to talk because there's just a lot of stress in their lives. So having multiple ways for them to participate. So, if you have students, share their opinion, they can do it through the chat. They can do it by talking, turning on their camera. And also, I would say thinking a bit more intentionally right now about rapport and managing the connection, and having moments for students to be silly and to personalize. For example, instead of having them write a sentence to summarize a story, let them make a meme to summarize the story, right? Or let them do a Kahoot to review something. So, thinking about it from that, and not always approaching it as, well, they're against me, right? They're probably not against you. They're just, life is hard right now. Let me
Thank you
see.
so much, Heather. We do have a couple more questions here, but I know I'm getting the red light here from Orlando.
Yeah.
And it looks like you've made him the host. So I think that's about the time we have for today. So again, I just want to thank everyone for joining us. And thank you, Heather. Thank you, Carmen.
And it's really, your questions are really good, because as far as I know, our next session is putting yourself in the online learner's shoes. So I think a lot of these concerns that we have that are coming up about how do we get students to do this, they might be addressed in the next session. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I will stop my video and audio and let Orlando take it away.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Heather. Could you make me host, please? I don't think
Orlando,
I'm host yet.
It looks like Teacher Training Mexico 2 is host right now.
Yeah, I thought that was you. Sorry, I can't make anybody else host then, because I'm not the host anymore.
Whoever Teacher Training Mexico 2 is needs to make you host.
Let's just double check. So yeah, I think we're having
it
some
appears as
technical.
I'm co-host. Would that be the issue?
cool. No, I think we're having some IT difficulties, everyone. There seems to be another device that is connected. So let's just take a quick 1 minute break, guys. You know what it's like, you know, we were just precisely talking about issues, you know, with this pandemic, you know, and what COVID-19, you know, has brought forward. So let's just take everybody, let's just thank Heather. Thank you, Heather. And let's just take 1 quick minute to sort this out. You know, feel free to bring yourself some snacks, some drinks. You know, we don't have our next session until a couple of minutes from now, right? So thank you, everyone, and we'll just solve this as soon as possible. Stay tuned, guys. 1 quick minute. Hello. All right. I think we've already solved the problem. Thank you for staying, everyone. Yeah, you know what it's like, you know, with technology, but you know, the useful thing is, you know, there's always a backup plan, right? So, well, thank you very much for that, Heather. Thank you, Carmen. Thank you, team. And you know, this is something that we wanted to bring, you know, to you as part of the International House Day experience. We've been, you know, we've been in lockdown. If you're like me, you've been in lockdown for quite some time, and you really want to go back to you know, the face-to-face reality, of course, but you know, we cannot do that for some time, at least, you know, for a couple of weeks from now, a couple of months. And I think this has also brought quite a change, you know, to the way we teach and the way we do things, you know, together with our learners, right? So I'm gonna put in a link here in the chat box for everyone. And you know, it's always nice to recap on what we got, you know, from the session. So I have a little something over there for everyone. So what main tip or idea did you take from this session to make your online teaching sustainable? This is precisely what you know, Heather was well, Heather and Carmen and Tim were talking about today. And we just want to make sure that everybody is staying, like Natalie and everybody said, you know, everybody is staying mentally healthy, right? So what I would like you to do is, you know, go to that link, type a couple of words, you know, what main ideas did you take from this session? So I'm going to give you just a couple of minutes. Go ahead, guys, go to the link and, you know, and just type your ideas. Maybe, I don't know, something that you got was yoga. Some people were talking about doing yoga, or time management, you know, managing our time, you know, or managing our exercise plan, right? Even that is important, I think, right? So go ahead, and I'm going to give you a surprise in a second. Can you post the, oh yeah, I can also post the code. Let me just post it. And I'm going to be sharing those very nice ideas I've been produced as I speak, right? So go ahead. We have this word cloud. Go ahead. And people are, you can see the word cloud, right? You know, feel free to go to the chat and type if you can see my screen, because I can see wonderful words coming up there, of things that everybody, is sharing. So yeah, fantastic. So I think the main idea that we got from yeah, balance. People are talking about time management, balance, taking breaks. And I think the main lesson that we got from this first talk was precisely that, managing our time, taking breaks, organizing. Those are the keywords that I see from this word cloud. So guys, next time you go and teach online, please make sure that you are managing your time, that you're managing your timetable, and that also you're keeping your mental health, in check. That's always important, right? So thank you. I would like to thank again. Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Carmen. And thank you, Tim, for your great job and for the talk. And remember, stay tuned. Now, moving on to the next big thing that we would like to talk about today. Today we have great news. Remember that you're here because we're extremely happy to be here. We're super proud to be here. And I myself, I'm incredibly excited to be sharing some fantastic news with you all today. It's with huge pride and excitement that we all at the International House family, we would like to officially launch the International House University. As some of you might know already, we are a university, and we're incredibly happy and proud to have you here today, because today we mark the start of a new era of so many projects, of so many adventures, so many different journeys that we're going to be taking together with this new project, like huge project that we all are looking forward to working with you on, which is the International House University. And one of the main things we would like to share with you in this excitement is this. Again, maybe not a surprise for some of you guys, but some of you already know this. Some of you, I think, have even been talking about with friends, with family, and this is something that might not be new to some of you, but it's definitely something that we would like to share with you. We have a new program. We have a first degree in ELT, right? So that's an incredible program that we would like to share with you today. So how about that? This is a new program that we're going to be launching. Thank you, Natalie. Congratulations. I think this is super exciting. I think there we go. It's awesome. I wonder if anybody has heard about this.
Yeah. Yes, Orlando. Those are great news. Those are great news. Can you turn my camera on, please? Can you let me?
Yes, I think I need to stop sharing, actually. There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
I have problems with my camera.
Oh, that's okay. I'm just gonna check. I'm just gonna share the presentation then, and we'll keep talking.
Okay. Thank you. Well, it's great news, Orlando. I'm really, really pleased to tell you that we have already received many candidates who are really interested to know more details about this new program. And this is a great opportunity to ask you their most frequent questions.
Fantastic. I'll be super happy to answer those.
Okay, the first question is, how long is the program?
Right. So this is okay. I guess this is one of the main things, right, that people keep asking about. So the main program is, well, this first degree, is 1 year long, guys. It's just 1 year, as you can see. It's a quarterly program, Marta. And what we've done is through putting a program together that is completely aimed at people with experience. This is something that is going to allow us to take that into account. We recognize, I think what I'm trying to say is we really give loads of importance to people's previous learning experience, right? Like teaching experience. And this is a program that is completely devoted, completely planned for people with experience. And so in doing that, we recognize that experience so that we can take you through a BA, a first degree program that will only be 1 year long, 4 quarterly blocks of only in total 12 months. As you can see, those are some of the subjects, those are some of the content that you're going to be learning on the master's degree program. Particularly important, I think, is education technologies now, right? Because now with
Wow.
COVID-19, that's something that everybody needs to know.
Yes, it's great. I mean, it's really short. And they also want to know who recognizes this program.
That's another good question. So who recognizes the program? So that's going to be international. So a couple of more than a couple of institutions, right? So first of all, it's nationally recognized through the the Ministry of Education in Mexico, Sept, Secretaría de Educación Pública, and this is done through Ceneval, right? So you can rest assured that it has that national recognition and qualification, that any first degree in Mexico should have. So that's kind of like the first point. But International House Mexico, as the innovative brand, the innovative school, the innovative university now that we are and that we have been for years, we also want to keep this at an international scale. Right. So International House being part of Mexico, International House University being part of International House Organization, will also provide that recognition. And we also have the support by Cambridge Assessment English, so that by the end of the program, you will have received that, the usual cédula profesional, which you can call yourself licenciado. But also that extra recognition through another diploma, another qualification, which is issued by Cambridge Assessment English and International House World Organization.
So basically, it's nationally and internationally recognized.
That's right, exactly.
Program.
Nationally and internationally recognized.
And the last question: a lot of them are asking how they can take the program.
How long can you take? How can you take the program?
Yes, how they can take the program,
Right. So again, this is something that we wanted to innovate with. Because of the current situation, the COVID-19 pandemic. Again, we don't know when we're going back to the face-to-face setting, right? So we also want to make sure that we provide very flexible delivery modes. So this is going to be very flexible. It's going to be completely online. It's a completely online program where you're going to have, like right now, you're going to have live online synchronous lessons with your tutors, just like right now, interacting with a group of people at the same time, but also a very flexible delivery mode through asynchronous session. So on a website, you're going to have your materials, readings, interactive tasks, videos with experts in DLT. So the idea is to keep it very flexible and to keep it completely online, synchronous and asynchronous, so that people can then, take full advantage of this program.
Wow. This is a great program for those who need a fast track to get a BA degree, right?
That's right. I think it's such a great opportunity, and I think it's something that everybody should definitely, because I think moving forward, it's definitely something that people will need to consider. It's such a flexible and really good program, in a first degree, right? But I think that's not everything, right? I think you also have some other exciting news.
Yes, we also have great news for the beginning of next year. At the beginning of next year, we will start running a master's program on English teaching and educational leadership for experienced teachers who want to become leaders in education. This program is completely different since it prepares graduates to take leadership roles such as creating an organizational culture, assuring international quality standards, and innovating ways to improve learning outcomes. This is a unique program in Mexico that combines advanced study of ELT methodology and educational leadership. And the most important thing is that the teachers from the IH Quality Circle schools, all of you who are here with us today, will be given scholarships to support the professional development for any of these programs. So please contact an assessor to ask about them. And remember, being part of IH is being part of the world, and we will always be here for you as the IH family. Right, Orlando?
That's right, completely right. We are here to support everybody, and we're here to make you part of the largest organization, the largest party, the largest organization in the world. All right. So thank you very much, Marta. Thank you very much. And once again, thank you, everybody who's been joining us so far. So we would like to share a little something with you. This is a very exciting journey, everyone. A little something from our side is we want to share this excitement also, of what we're doing, what we're doing through a little video that we have prepared for you. We're going to take a break for the next talk, so 2 minutes, and we're going to play this video. Stay tuned, guys. We come back to the second talk with experts in ELT to talk about how we need to consider being empathetic online with our learners and how to put ourselves in our learners' shoes. So thank you, everyone, and stay tuned.
Y forman parte integral de tu expresión cultural, de tus valores e identidad. Somos diferentes, pero un idioma nos hace coincidir. Necesitamos estar preparados para poder interactuar con personas de cualquier país. Siempre supe que quería representar a mi país y llevar su cultura hasta el último rincón del mundo enseñando idiomas. En International House encontré el mejor lugar para transmitir mis pensamientos e ideas. International House me da la oportunidad de lograrlo con la mejor formación y reconocimiento mundial.
Okay, we are back. It seems that I cannot turn my camera on. Orlando, could you help me?
Yeah, no, that's right. But that will be okay. I'm going to share the background just so that you can talk.
Okay, that's all right. So good afternoon, everyone. And I'm Alejandra. And I'm really pleased to introduce three well-known teacher trainers of International House for this segment. We have Ana Rosa Vargas, Ricardo Fajardo, and Orlando Delgado. Ana Rosa is the current director of the studies at IH Guadalajara. She is a well-known trainer for CELTA, CELT-S, and CELT-P at International House University. Ricardo Fajardo is also a CELTA tutor at International House University. His main area of interest is phonology and assessment. And our well-known Orlando Delgado, who is current director of teacher training operations at International House University. He is CELTA and Delta trainer and assessor. Together, they will co-host the session, Putting Yourself in the Learner's Shoes. Enjoy your session.
Thank you very much, Alejandra. So the second session of the day, guys, and I'm going to be sharing the floor with Ana Rosa and Ricardo. So as you know, it's something that we always need to do. And as you know, as teachers online, it's something that we always need to check. So can you hear us over there, Ana Rosa and Ricardo?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Yes, I can hear you. No problem.
Fantastic. So remember that it's always useful to do this online, right, everyone? So okay, so this second session, this is something that, again, you know, as part of this International House Day, we would love to, you know, share our impressions on what's happening worldwide. You know, today we wanted to make it about you and about how you teachers, how we teachers, because everybody here, I think at heart, we are teachers, right? And this is what we do, this is what we enjoy in our vocation. But it's always important, like Heather said, it's also important, like Carmen said, and like Tim said, to take care of ourselves, right? And also to take care of our learners. With this new pandemic situation, it's really, you know, the mental health and the mental state that we need to consider moving forward. So, so today we wanted to talk about that in this second talk. We wanted to talk about putting ourselves in the learner's shoes and what we mean by that, putting ourselves in the learner's shoes, right? So, I guess, I don't know if you like memes. Maybe people in the chat could, I don't know, maybe there are some people that in the chat could tell us if you like memes, if you hate memes. I think I've always liked and enjoyed memes because they do show a little bit of reality of how we feel and what's happening, right? So if you're like me, you started the year, you know, January and February, feeling fine, you know, even feeling super bright about the future. And then, you know, then March came in, COVID-19, and, you know, and our reality changed, right? But sometimes, but some along those lines, you know, we felt all of these different things. You know, in April, we were maybe, I don't know, super, I know maybe we were, like, you know, like super worried about what's going to happen. Then May came, and then in June we started crying, you know, and being desperate about what was going to happen to the world. In July we were like going through aisles in supermarkets, not finding toilet paper, you know, or any other or any product, you know, that we needed. And then we were screaming until like last month, and then now in September we don't even know what's happening. You know, we don't care anymore, right? But along that journey, maybe you also had to adapt to the distance learning environment, right? You also had to adapt. And maybe at first everybody said, yes, you know, you'll just look like this wonderful teacher, you know, with the books, and we just have to adapt. And maybe also some people told you, well, it's the same teacher and it's just different tools, right? Did everybody hear that, by the way? You know, like just just like the same teacher, like different tools, and yes, you'll be fine, and there'll be no problem at all, right? Well, and then at first maybe we thought that we were going to be like this teacher, right? I definitely feel like that. I thought that I was going to be like that teacher, like nice here, kind of like posing to the camera, and then the apple, and then the books, and then I'll be fine, right? But is that really the reality, everybody? Is that really how you're feeling? Is that really how you've been through all of these past months? Just super happy like this teacher? Maybe you could tell me, yes, Denise is saying no, real. Exactly, Maria, I agree. Totally, Christina. It's definitely not like that, right? It's actually more like this. Don't you agree? It's more like, yeah, it's more like this, and maybe you even have like your iPad and like two computers, and you're like, oh God, there's so much work in line, right? Does anybody feel like this? Yeah. Yeah, sleep at night, right, Denise? Irma, yeah, that's right. That's absolutely right on. And you know what, guys? It's not even us only, it's also even our learners and their parents, right? I mean, just look at that guy, that parent is like, Jesus, like, I don't know what's happening here, mate. It's just, Natalie saying coffee is a must, right? So this is, I guess this is how like people expected things to be, and then how things have actually played out, right? So today, this talk, we would like to talk about three main things that I would like you to take away, from this talk today. So we're going to talk about what we mean by coaching and mentoring in the context of teaching, because I think we've always found from our end that teaching, and hopefully you agree with us, that teaching is pretty much like mentoring, and like coaching. So we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about being empathic, or empathy, what we mean by empathy in an online environment, because that might be something new. And also mindfulness, leading what it's so in right now, mindfulness. But what do we mean by mindfulness when it comes to the online world, right? So coaching and mentoring. Has anybody here, let's go to the chat, everybody, and just Carmen is saying, that it's not the same being a teacher with different tools, it's kind of a completely different mind and different attitude. And like you, Carmen, I feel that that's true. And because of that, I've always kind of, connected the idea of teaching, being a teacher, to the idea of being a mentor and a coach. Have you ever have you ever felt sometimes that you are a coach or a mentor? They are different terms, but sometimes we can refer to maybe sometimes feeling like a mentor or feeling like a coach. Has anybody felt like that sometimes, when you go into the classroom, you're kind of mentoring, or you're kind of coaching? Mariana is saying she's reinventing herself as a teacher, for example, right? Jorge sometimes feels like a coach himself, right? So I think at the core of what we do, or as psychologists, Elvia, that's very true, psychologists as well, right? Because at the core of what we do as teachers is that a student-centered approach, right? And like Xiomara is saying, maybe the term teacher is a bit outdated, because we are actually more than that sometimes, if not all the time. And at the core of what we do is that idea of the student being at the center of everything that we do. And that's kind of similar to the idea of a coach as well. If you're a coach, you're focusing on whoever you're coaching. So there's that similarity, and as a teacher, we're in a way thinking of our learners as somebody we need to coach, because we're placing them at the very center of the experience. Now, with that in mind, because we're placing them at the center, and it might be a bit of a challenge, to some people, of course. To me, it has been a challenge sometimes. I have to tell you the truth, right? But it's kind of also trying to get rid of that kind of bias or prejudgment, kind of a judgment that we might have because of a number of reasons, because of what the previous teacher said, because of what the previous grades show, or because of what we've been told about that learner beforehand by parents, by the school director. It's definitely important, right, to keep those in mind, but in relation to how we can help the learner, right? Xiomara is saying, like, yes, it has to do with guiding and aiding learners, right? But to do that, especially again with a view to understanding what's happening under these pandemic circumstances, we need to consider removal of any kind of judgmental views. I think, like we all are going through right now in this pandemic, I think the learners are also going through a very, very tough situation. I think everybody is going through a very, very tough situation, hard times. I don't really know if anybody here has ever gone through a pandemic the size this has been so far, right? So I think it's also important to share that non-judgmental attitude to let's start afresh, let's start from zero in this new reality, right? Vamos a empezar desde cero, kind of thing, right? Emotionally speaking, in relation to I'm with you and we are together, right? And that also kind of leads to invariably, leads to empathy, right? Nathalie, for example, is saying that, to be honest, this whole pandemic situation took you out of your comfort zone, right, Nathalie? And I think it took many, I mean, not just everybody who's here, but so many millions of people around the world globe, out of their comfort zone in so many aspects. And when we're teaching and when we're online with somebody, I think it's also important to take the time to share those stories and to get to know those different journeys that people have gone through over the past 5 months, right? And something important, I think, that we need to differentiate is the difference, it's just being clear on what we mean by sympathetic, having sympathy for somebody, right? And how to be empathetic. I think I love that cartoon here, because it goes such a long way to show that difference. Just what do we mean by being sympathetic, as in, like, well, somebody's crying in the corner because something happened to them, and then, well, I feel for you, that's bad, and that's as far as I'm going. And then the difference between that and I'm empathetic, somebody's crying in the corner, something happened to them, and trying to see if there's something that, as their coach, as a mentor, as a teacher, as somebody who's going to be able to help you unleash that potential, goals, resources, all of that, if I can get myself involved somehow in that to help you get out of that corner, right? I just love that cartoon because it goes such a long way to show that, how you're crying on your own and how I can actually help you mend or solve the situation. And I think that's something that we as teachers, as mentors and coaches could try to do. And just like, again, you were saying in the chat, I think Xiomara, you were also talking about this, right? Xiomara, you were saying that we need to aid learners, guide them to identify and recognize their own resources, right? Xiomara, you were talking about that, their own skills, and so it's also that kind of extra step, or extra role to help people naturally discover, their own resources, because people are so resourceful if we only help them identify those resources, right? Like Carmen is saying, it's just, there are so many people, human beings, who felt afraid, lost, alone, and they just need a helping hand. And, you know, we might have so many learners that because of their situation, because of the, the core background, or because of their age, you know, if you're teaching young learners, some of those resources are really hard to access. You know, I'm pretty sure that some of you have struggled with issues of self-esteem in your young learners, in your Leo kids, right? And that's maybe because of what's happening at home. So, you know, because of that, we need to try and see how we can unleash that potential and help them identify a potential, because people do have resources, but they need help to identify them, right? Um, and by doing that, you know, the idea is that we're also in a way helping them, you know, be ready for change. Because again, remember that what's happening throughout the world, you know, what's happening right here, you know, is that under these pandemic circumstances, is that we are changing as a world, as a society, as, you know, I mean, let's think about it from little to bigger, right? As teachers that we are in Mexico, as teachers that we are part of the International House community, you know, the Americas, the world is changing, and the world is changing in a way that maybe we hadn't seen before, right? And like Ana Isabel is saying, you know, it's hard for teenagers even more so, because they're going through that period, that, you know, teenage period where they are already experimenting changes. And then on top of that, we're adding these changes that have to do with lack of friends, lack of socializing, because they cannot, like you're saying, Natalie, right? That they cannot do this. So, and it's happening to us, and it's happening to you, and you who's watching here on the screen. It's something that's happening to everybody, and we all have had to adjust to this new reality, whatever that new reality is and however long that will take. But it's trying to use those resources to try to be ready for that change, and also incremental changes that are going to keep adding to that, right? So that's why I think the idea of being a mentor and a coach, you know, with our learners, to our Leo kids, to our teenagers, is something that goes really hand in hand with teaching. Because I can see so many different similarities between our role as teachers, and like you were saying, it's probably a term that is outdated, because we're coaches and we're also mentors. And to do that, we have to build our trust with our learners, right? So how can we that, I think, you know, online, and I think it's even more challenging to do that in an online environment, right? Like Jessica is saying, you know, it's been very difficult for the kids. That's right, you know. And Maria Josefina, you know, you're saying that, you know, it's such a big change, and we need to adapt, you know, to these new digital tools, right? Could you please go to the chat real quick, you know, 30 seconds, and tell us what have you done online to, you know, encourage those, you know, like use of resources, identifying your learners' potential, or how have you used your teacher's presence to help your learners? Because I think one of the first things that online might seem very difficult, and that's precisely what Heather, you know, was talking about, is how do you use, or how have you adapted your teacher presence to allow for that, to build that trust, or to turn to that coach or mentor role? Jorge saying, for example, Jorge dances to begin with. I guess you do a little bit of dancing online, Jorge. I think that's such a great idea, because you're making yourself, you know, you show yourself as more human, right? Maria Cristina, you always ask them how they feel. I think people always appreciate when you ask them how they feel, you know, as in say, how are you today? Tamara, you ask them for examples they are interested in. Singing is a great idea, Adriana. You have me singing all throughout your class, right? Play a song, sing, exactly, right? Fantastic. And I think it's those ideas, you know, about what we can do online to keep our learners in a safe environment. I think one of the things that we need we need to consider is creating a real, it's of course, it's still a lesson, of course, we're still teaching, but it needs to be, it needs to be as much as possible a stress-free environment. I don't know about you guys, but the world out there is already very stressful, right? We don't want any more stress in our classes with our learners. It needs to be a relaxed environment, right? And like you're saying, Patricia, as fun as possible. Try not to judge, try not to judge whoever is at the other end of the screen. Trying to be as warm as possible. I think, like asking how they really feel, I think, and just really caring about them and how they're doing, Barbara, I think that's such a great idea. Barbara is saying, breakout rooms with a social emotional focus. We're going to talk about that actually, about like a couple of suggestions to really add that to our learning environment, right? And simply like Natalie saying, just simply becoming more patient, right? Definitely. Totally. And encourage them to even joke, about things, Totally, Sylvia, I fully agree. And also just making sure that the voice is heard, right? Definitely, right? So, but I think something that I would like to share with you, honestly, is, like that idea of our voice, where their voices being heard, right? Because online, all of this is a bit more complicated. Not extremely complicated that is impossible, but it's definitely a bit more challenging, right? And like you said in the chat, it's something that you have to adapt it yourselves to, this new challenge. And sometimes it takes a bit longer. And when we were preparing this presentation, in relation to the last point, their voices being heard, I started considering, what does it mean to be a good listener? Could anybody in the chat box, go ahead, 30 seconds. What do you think we mean by being a good listener? How would you describe, what would you describe a good listener as? What would you say are some characteristics of a good listener? Do you consider yourselves to be good listeners? Gabrielle is saying being empathetic. So I'm here and sharing what you feel, maybe. Listen with your, I love that, Mary Carmen, ears, eyes, heart, no interruption. Yep. Yeah, Denise, that's, many kids really need attention, crave for attention, right? I loved what you just said, Shimara. You said reading between lines, sorry, right? And I love that, Barbara. Barbara has an excellent point, which is the one I would like to share. Barbara is saying, quieting the talk in your brain. So kind of like, yeah, brain, there are so many things here, just keep quiet because I'm really paying attention to what the other person is saying, right? And that's one of the things that I realized myself, when we were preparing this talk, is there are so many things that are going on in our heads where we are listening to people, right? Maybe there are other people talking in the background and the person we're listening to is just kind of background noise. Maybe we are not really listening. Maybe we're kind of like thinking, like Barbara, like you're saying, we're kind of like thinking about what the other person is going to say. Like, so you're kind of like getting ahead of the game, right? Maybe you're thinking about what you are going to say. Maybe you're also kind of, oh gosh, yes, I mean, just like stop because I have the solution for you and you're going to love it, right? And, or maybe even worst case scenario, you're thinking, your brain is thinking, oh God, this is so boring. I just wish, they could stop. And that's where, we missed all of these different things that really the other person is going through. And like you're saying, Shamara, you know, you said it's really reading between lines, but it's reading between lines, words, eye contact, ideas, feelings, and even thoughts, right? So, you know, and so I wonder, am I really good listener? You know, am I really listening to what people mean, to what people say, to what people are sharing, right? Because in trying to listen to people, I could potentially be a better coach, a better mentor, and a better teacher, right? So, and hopefully, in doing that, that's going to help us also be, you know, more, like you're saying, much more empathetic, right? So, what do we mean by being empathetic? And what do we mean by being empathetic in this new online reality, right? So I'm going to let Ricardo take over from here, because Ricardo, you know, is going to share his impressions on what we mean by being empathetic, especially in an online setting. All right, Ricardo, would you like to take over?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Orlando, for that. I don't think I can share my video, my camera. Is that?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's totally fine. Can you share your screen?
Yeah, sure, I will.
Awesome.
Okay, so I think that's working. You should be able to see that. Yes, okie dokie. So yes, as Orlando was saying, I mean, being empathetic is not easy, actually. It's not like a breeze or a walk in the park. It's actually very difficult. But first of all, I mean, as teachers and as human beings, the first thing that we need to understand is exactly this. What does it really mean to be empathetic? But I just don't want you to think about the teacher. I want you to think about just humanizing the word. What does it mean to be empathetic, not just from the role of the teacher, but also from the role, yes, of any human being. So it's really understanding others. But it's easier said than done. Sometimes when we say, well, I really need to understand others, yes, it's very difficult because we need to really be in their position. We need to really be in their shoes. And definitely we need to consider a number of things, right? So I want you to take a look at this definition that we actually selected for you. And let's see which words really you internalized from this. So it says the action of understanding, being aware of, oh, this is critical. You need to be aware of what other people are thinking, feeling, reacting about. Being sensitive to, this is even harder, guys. Sometimes we are aware of how a person is feeling, what they are going through, but we need to be a little bit more sensitive. We need to be more understanding. Yes, because they are experiencing different things. So we need to think about their feelings, their thoughts, their experience of another, of either the past or present situation, right? So it's so many things. So being empathetic is understanding, but first of all is being aware that we need to understand them, and being sensitive that the other people also have emotions and we need to understand them all the time, because that's what they need. They need actually this support. But then what do I do? I mean, how do I transfer my empathy to an online, you know, environment? So that's kind of the big question here, right? Because obviously as a person in the previous face-to-face reality, guys, we used to, okay, I'm with you, and we would go and hug the person. I'm with you, and we will actually have a, you know, a very nice coffee time with our friends. But what do we do now? How do we transfer this online, you know, empathy? I will give you just 10-15 seconds in the chat box. Could you give me some ideas? How are you really transferring this online empathy? What are you guys doing? I would like to see something in the chat box with regards to that. So what are you doing? So how are you transferring all of this, yes, online empathy? So obviously from previous comments, obviously we need to pay attention to what they say. Yes, we need to actually hear them, really hear, yes, our students, and we need to help them. But how do we do that? Yes, Amalu says, understanding everyone's conditions. This is really important. Sometimes we think and we feel, or we take for granted that everybody's in the same conditions, and that's not true. Maybe some other people are in more precarious conditions. Maybe some have better conditions than the teacher himself. So that's a very good one, definitely. Maria Cristina says, sending messages and asking how they are. Yeah, this is important. Sometimes we are in front of the computer, but we cannot forget that we can use other means of communication. We can send them a WhatsApp if they are having problems with connectivity. We need to understand how they are feeling at that very moment. Yeah. Okay, Natalie says lessons and exercises to go together, sorry, to do together and avoid leaving alone work. Yes, this is for primary students. That's a very good idea. Yes, and simply, guys, I think that the main idea from what I'm reading here is really ask your students how they are, how they feel every single day, because from one day to another, our circumstances can change and they can change radically. So it's important actually to really be aware. Remember that we were looking at this definition. We need to be aware, yes, of their feelings and emotions. Yes, yes, Andres, thank you. We need to ask them, yes, to express themselves and to give them time to express themselves. Sometimes, guys, for example, we have 1 hour to give our lesson, but we could invest maybe the 5 minutes at the beginning and the 5 minutes at the end of the lesson to allow them to express their emotions or their feelings. It's not just about the lesson. It's not just the content that we need to worry about. We need to worry about their emotions as well. So that's equally important, right? So some people say like, okay, so, well, so this online empathy, so is it asking everyone just to do yoga and just maybe relax a little bit? Not really. It goes beyond that. We cannot just say to somebody, oh no, just relax. I mean, yeah, close your eyes, let's do some yoga for 2 minutes or 3 minutes, and that will change your universe. It's not as easy as that, guys. So we need to actually to go beyond that, right? So in that regard, I mean, we have to think about these 3 elements that now we are looking at, guys. We need to be aware of thoughts. And when we see this word, it's not just your thoughts, but your students' thoughts, or even your parents' thoughts. What are they thinking? What is in their heads? What are they going through? So I want to know what they are thinking, definitely. I want to know, yes, what really, yes, have in their heads. And this goes hand to hand with emotions. So depending on what they are thinking, they are feeling something. If they are having problems with connectivity, they are thinking, oh my God, the teacher is going to get mad with me. So obviously I will get more nervous during the class. So we need to be aware of all these emotions. And this transfer again to behavior, what they do. You see your poor students actually suffering. Yes, their hands are shaky. Yes, and it's all together. So we need to consider thoughts, emotions as behavior when we are actually dealing with the students, guys. It's all together. So if we see that our students are reacting funnily, or if they get mad or something, that's only the behavior. But we need to take a look at the other 2 circles here. It's like, why are they reacting the way they are reacting? What are they thinking? What are the emotions? Why is he mad? Why is he so nervous? So, because sometimes we just react to the behavior and we might actually react a little bit too quickly to this. So we need to stop ourselves and say, hey, wait a second. What is causing this behavior in my students? What are their thoughts? What are their emotions? So we can actually send them maybe a private message and ask them, hey, what's going on? Are you feeling okay? Is everything okay at home? And just by that, I think that your students can actually, understand that you understand them and that you are with them all the time. So that's very important. We need to see the 3 aspects like working together, right? Carmen says teachers should be earlier to their classes, 5-10 minutes before, to listen to them. I concur with this idea, Carmen. Thank you very much for that. Definitely. It's not just the time of the lesson, as we say. We need to socialize because, again, we lost this physical contact. So we need to try to recreate this physical contact by adding those minutes that are necessary to recreate it. It might not be the same, yeah, definitely, but we are offering at least something that substitutes for that physical contact that we used to have, definitely, right? Okay, and now I want you to think about this because some people think that it's possible actually to transfer this humanity and empathy, yes, digitally. What do you think? Is it an easy job, and is it possible actually to transfer humanity and empathy in a digital world? What do you think? I would like to see a few yeses or nos. What's your gut reaction to this? Can we transfer this to a digital world? Can we transfer this? Yes, Nathalie says definitely yes. Yes, most people say yes, and that's exactly, yes, what we need to think about. I want you to now watch this very, very short video. And this speaker is talking about, yes, the digital environment. And we will react to it together. As you watch it, I want you to react to it, yes, in your heads, because I would like you to give me some keywords like I agree, I don't agree, yes, I feel the same, and so on and so forth, right? So this will be very, very important, right? So hopefully you can actually see this. Could you let me know just very quickly if you can actually watch and listen to this?
Sometimes the importance of emotions is not.
Can we all see that and hear that? Excellent, thank you very much. Just checking again, in an online environment, it doesn't hurt to double check, guys. So please watch this and listen to this and just react as you watch it, okay? Please do, let's do this.
Understood. We like to think of ourselves as rational, logical thinkers, but actually emotions carry within them highly significant information. If we don't get this information about the emotions of others, it's very difficult to truly understand each other, to truly connect. And this is a problem that is very particular to the digital age, because for some reason, digital systems are not designed to take human emotions into consideration. The internet is not designed to permit rich expression of emotions. Actually, the mechanisms, the tools we have for expressing our emotions on the internet are very, very poor quality. And nothing compared to the information that is traveling between us right now. What does this lead to? Well, this leads to lack of empathy. There's no emotion contagion, only the facts, only the message, the facts of the message get through, not the emotions. This means it becomes very easy to be mean online when you don't feel the pain of the person reading your message. It means we can actually become very cruel online when we don't feel what the reaction that our message is causing. Even though this phenomenon takes place online, the consequences are felt in real life. So there could be a problem. And that is why we should be interested in any way we can increase empathy online and in real life.
All right, so yeah, most yes to this, guys, definitely. And I agree with the speaker in that the digital world is not exactly humanized. So it's actually us individuals, guys, who need to take, yes, the digital world to the very next level. Tools themselves cannot provide empathy. We could have the best tools in the world, but if we do not actually humanize these tools, they make no sense. It's like when we are using words, guys, but we are not using the right intonation. Yes, the words are there, but the intention is not there. So it's exactly the same in this case, I think, because we have emojis and we have other tools that we can use in the digital, yes, era, in the digital world, but they might not actually convey exactly the same meaning that me, the speaker, yes, can actually do. Yes, my voice, a very good, I understand you, I'm with you, don't worry, has more power, yes, than a million emoticons. So that's something we need to understand. We can actually use them and they are very useful, all of these tools, but we need to take them to the very next level. Does that make sense, guys? Do you agree with this? I would like to read some of your, yes, ideas towards this. Or do you think that digital tools are just enough? Yes, Marilisa says, we have actually a powerful tool, our voice. Yes, our voice can actually be more powerful than emoticons, definitely. Griselda, thank you very much for agreeing. Yes, definitely. I mean, we are more powerful, yes, than actually, you know, many tools. Yeah. Let's move on here, guys. And now, okay, let me move. Sorry about that. Okay, and let's actually take a look at this. People say that actually when we are in an online environment, it can be tricky to be empathetic. And I want you to take a look at this sample email. And I want you to read it individually in silence and say like, is this email being empathetic? To what extent is it being empathetic? And what tools is the sender, yes, using to be empathetic? Okay, take some seconds, maybe 30 seconds, 1 minute should be enough. Take a look at that. How empathetic is this email, yes, to maybe somebody receiving this? And start reacting to it in the chat box. Feel free to actually react to it. Take a look at the wording. Take a look at maybe the style. Is there anything that is being empathetic or not? If you maybe say like, well, there is a lack of something, you can mention that as well. Okay, so I would like to, yeah, okay, thank you very much, Ana Rosa. So like we find solutions together. So this language is very important. Again, we need to be empathetic in the sense that we cannot actually make people feel they are alone. Yeah, so this language is very important. Yes, that's good. So what else, guys? What do you think? So is there more language that you think is empathetic? Or how is this email being empathetic? Okay, Ligia, thank you. Yes, because the writer is showing that he or she cares about the other one. Yes, thank you very much for that. Yes, definitely. Yes. Shomara, thank you mentioning that finding solutions together is important. Yes, I think it sounds formal to a certain extent, says Marisa. Yes, we can be slightly formal and still being empathetic, I think, yes. Okay, that's good, excellent. So let's take a look, I mean, and let's analyze some of these aspects together, guys, because first of all, let's take a look at the beginning. It's like, hey, thanks for your email. So that very simple phrase, guys, changes the whole game, because it's like, hey, you took some minutes of your life or your existence to actually send me an email. So thank you, I'm with you. In the middle of this, yes, crazy situation, you took 2 minutes to actually, you know, write to me an email concerning a problem that you feel you are going through. So thanks for that. So we are being empathetic from the very beginning. I cannot see you, but when you read the email, that's the very first thing that the person actually is looking at. Thanks for this. So I'm pleased you have written to me about how you feel and that you've been honest. Yes, I'm with you. Again, feelings are there. I'm worried about how you feel. Yeah, it's very important to share this. So I'm sending the message. This like, hey, even if there is a problem and you need to send me an email regarding a problem, it's okay to do it. It's important to establish this communication. And then it's very important to me to listen to you. This is also important. Remember that when we write emails, yes, we even have to emphasize this empathetic language, because the person is not actually, you know, looking at us. The person is not hearing us. So the only means that we have is words. So we need to be really selective when writing an email, so the other person feels that we are with them, right? And again, we have just one emoticon, which is fine. We can actually have more. But again, emoticons themselves cannot carry the meaning that the right selection of words can have. We can actually be more powerful with our voices or our words, with the selection of words, rather than just a lot of emoticons. You can have 1 or 2 here and there, but is the selection of words, is word choice that will be more representative of you being more empathetic, right? So let's take a look at the second part. When you mention the number of email, I know exactly what you mean. Oh, beautiful words. I know exactly what you mean. It's like, I understand your problem. I understand your situation. So I'm with you again. Yes. And by the end, again, we have some questions. What might be a solution to this, do you think? It's like, I don't want to impose the solution myself. Maybe I already have the solution, or maybe I know what the solution is or what the best solution is, and still I'm getting the other person involved in getting the solution. So again, it's making, yes, this more human. Yes, and then the last question, shall we meet online to talk about this maybe? So is this conversation enough, or do you need actually, to have a more kind of a deeper conversation? And that's important, right? Yeah, thank you. Shomara says like the tag question. Yes, tag questions are also part of the language that we are actually using in here. So as you can see, yes, it's like it really takes some minutes, guys, for you to choose your words when you are talking, when you're teaching, when you are sending an email, because that would humanize communication. That's part of being empathetic, humanizing, yes, communication, making sure that we remember we are dealing with people, not with machines. That would be very, very important. All right, let's move on. And then we have some kind of questions that we need to think about, some areas to consider if I want to become more empathetic with students, yes, and parents, for example, as well, right? So these are some of them, and let's take a look at that. So these are some ideas. So you could be explicit, you could be succinct, you can be short, but there is a very important word here, to be tactful. What do I mean by being tactful, guys? Can you give me some ideas here? What does it involve to be tactful? That is a fancy word that sometimes we are not paying too much attention to. Alicia says diplomatic. Yes, that's very important. Natalie, careful with words. Yes, sometimes it's not what we say, but how we say it, and that's very important. And we can actually live it. We actually live it every day. Yes, in our everyday encounters with our family, with our friends. Sometimes we actually forgot to be, yes, tactful. So basically we need to be strategic. That's another beautiful word, Renat. Yes, we need to be strategic in our word choices. And then when we talk to people, obviously we are prepared. We know what we have to do. We know what we have to say, but it doesn't hurt to be flexible, guys. Yes, it doesn't hurt like to be a little bit out of your agenda and allow, yes, for the other part to contribute in the conversation, to contribute to the solution to a problem. So be rather flexible. I don't know how flexible you can be. It depends on your institution. It depends on the lesson. It depends on the level. It depends on so many things. But why not be flexible? I think that, again, that's part of being more human in this new reality, right? So you can be honest as well. So you have to be aware of this. You need to be honest. I mean, when you communicate with people, you need to really make them feel what you are thinking. But again, we come back to this idea of being tactful. Yes. Sylvia says, try every student with dignity. Yes, this is very important. Yes, we need to actually treat people as people. Yes, and we can actually dignify communication as well. And the one in the middle is actually the whole thing that we're talking about. You really need to put yourself in their shoes. You really need to stop and say, okay, for 10 seconds, let me think about it. How is he feeling right now? Oh, like he was doing his piece of homework and suddenly, power actually went out. He couldn't finish this. He's really now traumatized because he will feel that he will be severely punished. Like, I would feel really panicky if I were in his or her shoes. So we really need to stop ourselves for a second and say, do I really, yes, understand? Have I tried at least to understand how they are feeling? That is actually what it means to put yourself in their shoes. And show appreciation, guys. Remember, we need to make sure that they get this idea. It's like, I'm with you. Show that you understand the problem. Show appreciation for whatever situation they are going through. Yes, that's very, very important as well. And something important, obviously focus on the problem, but offer a solution. But remember, your solution could be only part of the final solution. You need to also invite them to contribute to the solution, or even ask if they think your solution is the best solution for them. Again, we sometimes might be imposing our solutions and it might not be the best under their circumstances. So the whole thing, yes, about being empathetic, guys, is like forgetting about the me and thinking about the we. Yeah, because the us, yes, whichever place you want to put this, like, is not one person we're talking about. It's not my world, it's not my universe. Yes, it's somebody else's world and universe as well. So let's forget about the I, yes, or me or my, and let's start using words like we, our problem, because it's a shared situation that we are actually going through, guys. So let's forget about these individualizing situations, and now we need to humanize them, and we need to pluralize situations in that regard. Yeah, so that is actually what we consider, yes, is to be more empathetic, guys. And obviously this leads to another very big concept, which is mindfulness. Yes, so if we are empathetic, obviously this will go together hand to hand with being mindful about this. But okay, for that, obviously I'm going to allow my partner and my friend Ana Rosa to continue with this. So I hope that actually from now on we are actually more empathetic with our students, right? I will just stop sharing, if that's okay. So just to lead to Ana Rosa. Ana Rosa, yes, I'm giving the floor to you.
Thank you, Ricardo. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Well, I hope so. Okay, wonderful. So let's see, we're going to talk about mindfulness. But what is mindfulness? That is the first question I'd like to ask and answer. One of the answers I got is it's the practice of paying attention in the present moment and doing it intentionally. Very important, the practice of paying attention in the present moment and doing it intentionally. What does it mean? Quite a complex situation, okay? Because to pay attention in the present moment is one thing, and doing it intentionally is something else. It's added. How many times we have been in class and we say, okay, it's very easy to pay attention for 40 minutes. Just try for a couple of minutes without losing focus, okay? And then suddenly you're paying attention and you start thinking, oh my God, I didn't send the lesson plan to my coordinator. Or you continue with a class and then you say, can you answer these questions? And then what am I going to have for tomorrow? Okay, I haven't bought anything for lunch. And so it's very, very easy. It's very, very easy to get distracted, very easy. So we need to focus on the now and help students to be focused on the now, to engage them, to help them with interaction, with questions, with images. Okay, then we also have something else, which is letting go the inner voice, what I mentioned before. Okay, there's this little voice inside that tells us, do this and then don't forget, blah, blah, blah. Let it go and just concentrate on what you're doing, one thing at a time, to get better results. That way, we can help students and students can get better results. Stress exists, yes, and we can't get rid of it, okay? But don't be a victim of stress. What can we do? Well, I remember a saying that I've heard since I was a child. If your problem has a solution, don't worry. And if it doesn't, well, then don't worry, because there is nothing you can do about it. So, yes, worry because you need to prepare things, be organized, be ready, but don't become a victim of stress, because there is nothing that we're going to get from it. And one more point is being humble. Remember, we are not the source of wisdom, and we are not encyclopedias. We are human beings, we are teachers, but we're guides, and we don't know everything. How many times, and this is a question I'd like to ask everybody, how many times we have been in the situation where you get lost and then you say, hey, I don't know, I lost my video and I don't know how to send the link, and why couldn't you open this? And then suddenly one student says, teacher, why don't you click this? Teacher, why don't you try the other? And then you say, that's right. So being humble and accepting that we don't know everything. And now, because of all this, I don't want to say it that way, but because of all this situation, there are new possibilities in let's say in our work. Okay, new possibilities open up for us. And for example, one possibility is we need to be generative and make students generative. And I think they are in that process. They are generating ideas. We are innovative, and we have been raising awareness as teachers and helping students to raise awareness of what it needs to be done, what we need to learn now, how we need to approach students, how we need to tackle this situation. But very important is allow the person to feel it is about them. Remember, in a classroom, the students are the center of attention. They are the focus. We need to have student-centered lessons. But instead of saying, okay, work on your own, go to the breakout rooms, make them feel this is about them. What about if we have a practice, if we want to practice fluency in speaking or in writing, and maybe we ask questions like, how do you feel? Do you understand my exercises? Is it easy to handle the material online? Is there anything we can do for you? And then they can talk about it in their groups. They can write about it, but we allow the person to feel that even if we need to cover certain strategies, certain aspects, the class is about them. They are the center. And very closely linked is prompt reflection and dialogue on the now. And what are we going to do? Okay, let's have a dialogue. Teacher, but this is very difficult. I don't know how to use this. Okay, let's use it. Can anyone help other students? Okay, remember, not all students are in the same level. Some students are very, very skillful, and we can use them and integrate them into the classroom, into this digital classroom. So let's all take a journey of discovery, okay? A discovery, but not of what is to be done, but of the things we can do. And for example, there's a lot of potential that we have. And I don't know, I'm going to ask you a question, and I'd like you to answer it. If I had asked all of you teachers last December, hey, teachers, I'm going to open a school, but everything is going to be online, how many of you would have said yes? And how many of you would have said, no way, online is not my thing? Okay, it's not the same thing. Students cannot learn, etc., etc. So, and where are we now? From one week to another, boom, we became online teachers, learning something we had never used before, unlocking our potential, okay, showing ourselves and the rest of the world of all the things we are capable of doing that we didn't even imagine. So be proud of what we have been doing in the last 4 months, really, or 5. I lost track. Something very, very important is to consider that what we have in front of us is not a screen, it's a human being. And we shouldn't forget that. Not only a human being, many human beings, okay? So maybe we see the screen, but it's not the screen that we are talking to. It's not the screen that we are teaching. It's not the screen the students are talking to. It's all human beings. It's all brains, hearts, feelings, emotions, frustrations, many, many aspects that we didn't have before because we could see them in the real classroom, okay? So I have this. We need to create some effective communication. And some effective communication online would be, for example, comparing pairs or teams, compare their answers, so they don't feel threatened by the teacher, like, give me your answer, okay? So compare them before and have the opportunity to correct themselves to change their answers. Then share materials so they can continue with the work, so they can restudy what they saw. Use the chat. Use the chat as you have been using it now, but for some reason I can't see it, okay? So, and can you think of more ideas? Think of more ideas? And I have more ideas here. For example, okay, to have effective communication is keep it friendly, not too formal. Students imagine 5, 6, 7 hours of the day just having a formal speech. Keep it friendly, okay? And perfect, we are not perfect. We are human beings. So continue being human, real, model for other real people. We have feelings as well, and we have problems, okay? Even though we're enthusiastic, and the students are exactly the same. So we need to start reading their gestures, their faces, to see how they are feeling, and then ask them. Then we have this issue of geographical distance versus isolation. Maybe you work in regular schools, let's say in elementary, secondary, but some of us work for teacher training, language schools, and we have students from all over the world. In CELTAS, we have students from Asia, South Africa, South America, North America, Europe, etc. So, but we are not distant. We are not isolated, okay? We are together as a team and we work together, okay? That is the important part. Then the teacher's presence. Be available. We have to be available, not imposing, not too demanding. The classroom has to be a warm place. In the past, it was warm enough because we were in contact with the students. We could even touch them. Nowadays, even if we're face to face, it's impossible to touch a student, okay? But we have to make the classroom warm, okay? A friendly place where they like to come back. Dignified communication. All questions are welcome. It's not that you don't ask silly questions. Every question is important. Avoid the danger of interaction becoming transactional. Aim for interactional. So it's not just one side, but it's from teacher to student, student as well. And let students choose how to communicate. Do they want to communicate using the email? Fine. Do they want to text a message? No problem. Do they want to use the chat? Okay. Do they want to have a Zoom? Maybe they didn't understand something. Do they want to use their mics and give an answer in front of everybody? There are different styles, different preferences, different personalities. So keep it as a friendly place. And let's not forget that communication with our students is very important. Thank you. Now I'm going to
Thank you.
No, Orlando
Thank
is
you.
going to continue now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Could you stop sharing your screen, and also thank you very much. So thank you for that. And again, guys, like we said, you know, it's about you and the learners and how we can build this empathy with people, right? So just to finalize, I'm going to send you a link here in the chat. You know, feel free to go ahead and use it. What did you get from this talk today? What are some main ideas or tips that you got from this talk to build digital empathy and humanity in your classes? So quickly, just 2 seconds, and I'm going to show you the results from everybody, right? So I'm going to count 10, 9, 8, 7, 8, 6. So let's see what the results showed. Okay, so what are a couple of ideas that people got? To be aware, yeah, to listen to students, being a sensitive person, being friendly, read gestures and present, mindfulness, totally. And I guess that's an excellent point, whoever wrote, to really show that you care, use the correct language and being empathetic, right? So I hope that you enjoyed the session, and I'm just going to hand it over to Alejandra Garcia, one of our key directors at International House Querétaro, and part of this big project called International House University. So off you go, all yours, Alejandra.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Orlando. And thank you for all these wonderful ideas. And Rosa, I loved the part where you said that we shouldn't talk to a screen, but it's a human being. We've promised many surprises, and today I'm thrilled to present the International House Professional Development Program 2020. This program, it consists of a series of training sessions structured in 3 different categories. Each category is designed to support specific needs to specific audiences. So category number 1 that you should all be getting, it's our teacher development webinar series. And these series consist of 3 online sessions given by teaching experts and trained by Cambridge Assessment English in the specific use of tools for Cambridge exam preparation from A1 to C2. In other words, we want to give you the how to implement Cambridge latest resources in a very practical manner. If you go to this website, we'll tell you, click on this link. So you don't have to spend hours looking for materials and lesson plans. Session 1 is geared towards young learners. Session 2 is for key and preliminary. And session 3 is dedicated to B2 and C1 exams. So that's our category number 1. Category number 2, International House University Academic Webinars. And our first panelist was talking about that first one. So the new future is here and now. This was specifically designed to help teachers in their day-to-day classes in a new educational context with digital, technological, and pedagogical practical tools. It consists of 13 online sessions delivered twice a month by International House University trainers and experts on topics like promoting learner autonomy, digital citizenship, or maintaining rapport online. Orlando has shared the screen of our website, and you can see that information on our website already. Our objective is to provide new, practical, exciting tools every 2 weeks for you to be able to use in your classroom. After each session, a certificate of participation will be issued. So that's category number 2. And category number 3, last but not least, and this is our brand new International House Management Program, Coaching the Coach. Coaching the Coach. Oh, I'm sorry, it seems like there's a lot of light behind me, but it's a unique program that was specifically designed for team leaders, areas coordinators, or coaches of educational institutions who are involved in the execution and quality of the academic programs. It consists of a series of 10 training sessions delivered online once a month and taught by experts in organizational development. Sessions like coaching teachers in COVID times or building a high performance team have been designed to provide best practices in ELT education to school coordinators. To benefit leaders from all areas of the school, this program will be taught in Spanish. To sum up, we have created a wide range of tools to ensure you have the right toolkit for your needs. If you're a member of the International House Quality Program, you even have access to more benefits. please, if you're interested in the International House Quality Program, contact your local advisor who will be able to help you. I do believe that in the chat, there was also an address of some national advisors who can help you. So if you can help me post again an email address where they can ask if they have any questions. You should be receiving this program later today or tomorrow morning so that you can see all these 3 different benefits that we have for you. That's the International House University Academic Program with all the 3 different categories. So thank you very much, and back over to you, Orlando.
Thank you very much, Alejandra. Thank you very much for sharing these very exciting news. I think this is one of the greater things that International House University now this year is doing, to really reach out to everybody who's part of the International House now university community, and we're incredibly proud to have you here. I typed in the chat box, the email address, that Alejandra mentioned, so that if anybody wants to contact, our International House University representatives, if you are not part of the International House University Quality Circle already, that is, then you could also get in touch with us directly through that email address. So, last but not least, and I think we've had an incredible audience today, guys. Thank you for staying. I think we're having lots of fun. Last but not least, I would like to introduce you to the 3 speakers that are going to take the floor now for the final talk. We're going to wrap it up with one more talk that is going to be, I think, of your interest, because this talk is about what we do when we are maybe geographically isolated, but not emotionally disconnected, right? So I would like to introduce you to the 3 panelists tonight. First of all, I'm going to have the pleasure to introduce you to Eliberto Salinas. Eliberto, are you there, Eliberto? Can you turn on your, fantastic. Eliberto is right there with the camera.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, hi.
Fantastic. So Eliberto Salinas, there's a little bit of echoing from your end. So maybe yes.
No, not really. Can you hear me? Yeah? Okay.
Yes, but there is some echoing. Maybe some headphones.
Okay, let me fix it. Yeah.
All right, no worries. Remember that's one of the things that always we need to check, with Zoom. But I would really like to introduce you to Eliberto when he's back, because I have great things to say. So I would like to skip Eliberto for just 1 second and introduce you to Rosie Elsman. Rosie, can you switch? Fantastic. Can you hear us, Rosie?
Yes, perfectly. Hi, guys. Good afternoon.
Fantastic. So Rosie Elsman, I've had the pleasure of working with her for quite some time. She's been a teacher for over 15 years. Out of those, I think I've worked with her for at least 5. So I have the pleasure of working with her closely on a number of courses. She's a CELTA trainer and also an academic consultant for a very important publishing house here. And she's also very actively involved in online education. We have the pleasure of having her join us today in our talks. I would also like to introduce you now to Eliberto. Fantastic. Could you now unmute yourself, Eliberto?
Yes, can you hear me now? Well,
yeah, I think we can, definitely.
Okay, good.
Fantastic. And so I've had the pleasure of working with Eliberto also for some time. I think for over, I don't know, quite some time, I guess, I think more than maybe 5 years, I think. And, she's a trainer with over 10 years of experience. She's trained in so many different contexts, Costa Rica, Brazil, Peru, Colombia, Mexico, of course, you name it. And, he's also a CELTA tutor, CAM tutor, and TKT tutor. Maybe some of you have had the pleasure of working with him. And finally, last but not least, of course, I would like to introduce you to, there we go, my friend Mario. I love your background, Mario. Never give up.
That's what it's
Fantastic.
all about. It's all about this, right?
It's all about never give up in pandemic circumstances. And Pandemic has been also working with us now in International House Mexico. He is a CELTA tutor, and he's also he specializes in young learners, right? And making a big impact on the ESL community
No, esto es
through
otro Mario.
his work on teaching young learners, right? Okay. So thank you very much, and the floor is yours. Enjoy, and this is a very last session, but stay tuned because I have great news at the end of the talk. Thank you, everyone. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Orlando.
Thank you, Orlando.
So hi, everybody. Yeah, I can see a lot of people here. Yeah, nice to meet you all. Yeah, I can see familiar names right here. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for staying here. Hi, Alejandra. Okay, so right. So then, actually, this is going to be a very nice way to wrap up all the presentations today, because this has to do with what everybody's facing at the moment. So everybody is in lockdown, and everybody's looking for opportunities to improve in different areas, and obviously that has to do with English teaching. So here there are a lot of people who are trying to take courses like CELTA or TKT, and they wonder if the option online would be actually suitable for their reality and what they plan to do afterwards. I'm talking about after all this pandemic. So without any further ado, this topic has to do with how to build a community in any course. I'm talking about just, yeah, thank you, Mario. So then here we have Together We Thrive, right? So taking part on an online community of practice. So what does that mean? So, okay, first of all, we have to remember that a community has to do with people, not machines, not things like a computer or a pen or on an iPhone. It has to do with people, it has to do with feelings. This has to do with what my peers were talking about before our presentation today, treating people as human beings. And if a person doesn't feel comfortable enough, then a person is not actually aware of his or her surroundings. So what does that mean? That if you don't treat your candidates or even your students, I'm talking about students who help us be part of our groups for the CELTA course, if you don't treat them as human beings, they don't feel comfortable enough to start just mingling around and contribute with ideas and start sharing their experience and emotions. So as it says here, what does a proficient teacher do to build and be part of a community? So for example, have you got any idea, guys? So what do you think a proficient teacher do to build a community? So most of you are teachers, so I can see, yeah, okay. So we, for example, mingle with people, okay. If you really want to, yes, so I'm sorry, I have to leave now. Okay, that's okay, okay, no worries. So we have to make them feel comfortable in many different ways. And that actually starts from scratch, meaning in the interview we conduct before accepting any candidate, I make sure these people feel comfortable in what they are going to encounter. I give them different ways in which they are going to mingle with people, because one of their concerns is being online, they think they will be just isolated, as Orlando said, and they will not have this face-to-face interaction. And let me tell you something, as a matter of fact, you can kind of emulate that interaction doing many different things. For example, you can save some time for just candidates on a course or your students to mingle without you being there. So then you can suggest that. You can also interact through different emails. That has to do with what Ricardo was talking about previously. And there are all different techniques we can actually think of. So now I would like to ask my peers if they have, for example, used anything in particular to make candidates or students feel part of a community. Rosie, Mario? Yes.
Sure. Okay, in my case, I always welcome the learners. and give them 5 minutes just to mingle and share their ideas, how their day was, what they did, how they feel that day. I notice things in their behavior like, hey, you look sad. What's going on? Are you okay? Everybody participates, everybody shares. I just like that everybody says something at the beginning. What about you, Rosie?
In my case, basically, when we are doing the online sessions with our CELTA candidates, I always ask them, and I ask them to imagine that we are in a roller coaster. Because when you're teaching a lesson, it's a roller coaster. You get in, you are so enthusiastic, you go up, 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 and the energy level goes up. And then all of a sudden, you see like, oh my God, the pace is falling down and I need to come up again. And I tell them that I am riding the roller coaster with them. I feel enthusiastic when they're doing things right. And then I also feel stressed when I think they are also becoming a little bit tense. So it is, I always ask them, okay, are you ready to go into the roller coaster? But enjoy the ride, regardless of the ups and downs that we experience along the way. So, and then when the lesson finish, we always say, how is your hair after the ride? And how are your nerves after the ride? So I think it's a good way to put things in perspective and analyze how you feel once a lesson is finished.
Yeah, well said. And also, we have to also remember the fact that this is not only while the course is happening. We can do this before, while, and after the course has already finished. So you can continue keep in touch with your candidates or any student, just exchanging messages here and there and making them feel part of this community that they have already been part in. So it's actually part of feeling successful, and they are doing something that is relevant to somebody else's life. In this case, I'm talking about students. So as it says here, we're facing right now a big challenge. Everybody is facing it right now. We know for a fact that right now the world is actually different from what we experienced a year ago, for example. If you ask myself, and yes, what I was doing, for example, a year time, yeah, it was totally different. I was for sure, I was sure that I would just be giving CELTAs face to face for the rest of my life, probably. But right now, I am actually wondering if that is going to happen. I see myself now becoming more capable of giving, for example, not just CELTA, but different types of courses in different contexts. And actually that includes online teaching, okay? So now, okay, so then what do you think we need to do when we face failure? Because if we encounter this kind of challenges, it's not that easy, is it? So sometimes there are some stones on the web, on the road, and sometimes we have problems here and there. So what do you think happens there? Actually, there is something that you have to consider. One thing is to just stop and start just thinking about what the problem was. Then you can start analyzing it. You can consult somebody, so you can get some information and actually look for another pair of eyes, so you can see that problem from a different perspective, right? So now, here we have another slide. Mario, would you? Yes, okay. So this is exactly what I was talking about. So when you think about what went wrong, you think of the difficulty of the problem, what went wrong, how that happened, and obviously you start thinking about how this affects your idea of the problem, okay? You embrace it. Okay, so what does that mean, basically? Mario, do you have any comment on embracing?
Sure. I mean, I've had a great share of failed lessons during this period. I mean, I accept that. I mean, it all changed from one weekend to the other, and we dive into the online environment without any lifesaver around, you know, and it was just crazy. And yeah, just this past Wednesday, I had a difficult session in which nothing seemed to work, you know. I couldn't share my screen. I was having problems accessing the students' work. And I don't know, I was just so frustrated, so stressed. And well, at the end of it, I just accepted, this one didn't work. 5 minutes into now, I have another session. I just took a moment to myself, took a deep breath, and let go of it and got ready for the next lesson. Rosie, have you had a lesson like this?
Yes, I think we all do, especially because we were really sort of like pushed to join the online lessons and we were not prepared for it. I think we have to become masters in a matter of days. And you say, here is the platform, become familiar with it and share it with the teachers. So at the beginning, we feel like we are really clumsy managing all the tools that are there for us to experiment, but it's perfectly normal, and unfortunately we are dealing with online resources like Ricardo mentioned a while ago. It is perfectly okay because it's not your problem, it's more like the technology problem, but we always try to say like it was our responsibility. So yeah, we feel bad because we are on the spot, people are depending on us and people are watching our lesson. And also, like Ana Rosa mentioned in her talk, it can also be like maybe you are so stressed and overwhelmed that you don't see that there is a very easy solution until a student tells you, teacher, why don't you do that, like Ana Rosa said. So I think this building up a community is that we shouldn't really feel guilty when things don't work out. I mean, we're human beings. And like Hilda says, we have to be creative to solve problems online because we are on camera. We really cannot hide. If we are tense, we cannot hide it. If things are not working, we cannot hide it. But I think it's perfectly normal just to say, okay, tomorrow is going to be another lesson and I'm going to do my best so this situation is not repeated.
That's right. That's right. What about you? To everyone watching us, have you had a difficult lesson lately, or many, or just one? How successful have you feel?
And how did you embrace it?
Yes. How did you embrace it? What did you do? What did you do to just let it go?
Every day, yeah, it is true.
Exactly.
Every
Yes.
day,
Yes.
everything
Yes.
things go wrong. Yes, and
So
when you are dealing with people online, I mean, like Ricardo was saying, we Ana Rosa, we are dealing with people even though we only see a name on a screen. Feelings are still beyond the screen.
exactly, exactly. And although we want to do our best, there are some days that the lesson will not go our way, right? So we take it one class at a time, just like Eliva is saying, one class at a time, one lesson at a time, one day at a time. I mean, it's just one activity at a time sometimes, right? So the next point that we have is bend. I mean, these are some strategies that Rosie and I try as experienced teachers, things that we do to feel better when this happens, when we fail utterly, right? And totally. So what do we do? One of them is bend. I mean, I think it's okay to bend. I think it's okay to complain about ourselves, about our lessons. Um, in my case, I normally reach out for people I know. I normally reach out for those people that I respect, for those people that I know are gonna hear me, and I ask them what they do in this type of situation, or I just complain and go on and on about what happened and how did I feel. And at the end, this makes me feel better. What about you,
And,
Rosa?
and like you say, reaching out is the best. I mean, even when we are at a school, we always have other colleagues that we are working with, and maybe whatever that didn't work for us work for them, and they can give us some insight. I think here at International House, the group of trainers that we have a WhatsApp group. And whenever things don't work, I always said, are you busy? Can I really have your opinion on this? And that makes a community, and that makes us believe or feel that we are not alone, and we have that sense of belonging to a community, which is actually the topic of our talk. Like, you don't have a reason to feel alone. Reach out. get distracted, compare what happened to you and what other people did to solve the problem. And do not dwell too long into it, because the more you dwell, the more it's going to be difficult for you to achieve success or to really eliminate that thought out of your mind. So like it says here, change your mindset. You said, okay, I did my best. It, like Tim says, is juggling. You have to juggle a lot of things, participation, emails and everything. So just be careful with yourself, because it's you who is going to be or needs to be completely 100% the next day. So don't dwell into it. Just focus on the problem, change your mindset, and then maybe Mario can say something how he treats himself after
Oh,
he went.
sure, sure. Now, even when I fail, guys, even when I fail, I treat myself to something. I mean, every Thursday I have dinners with my wife. Every Friday I play online with my friends. We join and we just vent about what happened in our daily life. And of course, there's beer, wine, drinks involved out there that is just gonna help me feel like, I mean, I deserve a break sometimes. Even if I fail, I know I'm gonna work for it, but there are things that are gonna make me feel better. Just some Netflix and chill. I think that would be good enough. Yes, wine. Why it's so important, right? I mean, we are all teachers here, so
Exactly,
we
yes.
we've earned it. We've earned it sometimes, right?
Yeah, and also you need to calm down. I mean, we work so hard. I think people say that, oh, it's so easy to have online lessons, but to be honest, teachers have to work more and they have to be available 24/7. And I think for us here, when we are tutors, it is the same situation, because we have students or trainees that are all over the world. So our time frames are completely different. And sometimes it's 2 o'clock in the morning. We are receiving emails, not that we need to answer, but you know that there's going to be there waiting for you first thing in the morning. So we need to change our mindset. We just need to treat ourselves, have time. Like I think also it was Carmen that was saying, plan for time for yourself, because otherwise it's going to be really difficult to feel completely ready for our next lesson.
Right, right.
But it,
Another thing, another point that I have here is turn to the source. I mean, there is always like most of the other trainers that are here. I work with them, and they've been my teachers before, just like Ricardo, just like Orlando. And sometimes I just go and, friend, what do you do in these situations? Like, please help me out. Please give me a tip. How do I manage this? How do you tackle this point? You know, so turn to those people that you really respect, that have helped you in the past before with your education, and that's going to be great. Also, you can always turn to the first clients we have that are the learners. Sometimes when a lesson goes wrong, I just say, you know what, guys, I did my best. What happened? Where did I fail? Could you tell me? Could you give me some advice? Could you just tell me? Let's brainstorm some ideas on how could we make this better? How what do I need to do? The learners have great ideas in their friends. That they are the source of our needs, of the needs of the class. So ask them.
and they are the customers, right? Like you say, the main customers of our instruction. So it's always nice to turn to them. But I think as teachers, we have to be in like a roulette. It is like a little bit like a circle. We give our lesson, and then if something didn't work, we say, okay, I need to identify what happened, why my lesson didn't work. And but if it was really a good lesson, I also have to identify what I did right and why it became a very successful lesson. So I think as teachers, we are also doing that. So Mario, what do you do, for example, when you finish a lesson? What is the first thing you think about?
Okay, okay. Normally, I think I feel really satisfied if I reach the point in which the learners want to stay a bit more, or in which say, "What? Is it over?" And if I reach that point, or if I reach some, now I understand, then I feel great about the lesson. I think that's the thing, and that is how I evaluate if the lesson went well or not, right? And yeah, I mean, you are right. Um, a lot of the times when candidates teach a lesson and it didn't go that well, they immediately focus, no, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, and then I had troubles with this. When I say, guys, strengths first. Please identify what went well, what you did well, because from that, you build up.
Exactly. Like Denise mentions, it's very difficult to focus on positive things. We are not used to focus on positive things. We always go into the negative things. So yeah, it is a good time to get a little bit of pat in the back, like someone mentioned there, and say, we did great, even if the lesson didn't turn out as we expected. And someone said there that we also need to have like a praising from our boss, not only complaints. We need some recognition as well to feed our spirit. Without that recognition, we cannot really come the next day feeling 100% ready to work. So yes, we need to reflect, but we also need to consider that we are human beings. So now we have an action plan for you guys, so we can actually learn to bounce back from lessons that didn't go very well.
Yeah, so now that you have identified that what the problems were and the strengths that you can use to build on the next lesson, well, it is just tackle your action points as effectively and as efficiently as possible. I was telling you at the beginning of the talk that I had a really hard lesson last Wednesday with some students, and I get 5 minutes in between lessons. So my lesson finishes at this point, and I have 5 minutes to set the next lesson up and start. So I said, like, I have 5 minutes, took a deep breath, got a chocolate, eat it, and then dive into it. I mean, and I started again. I checked my connection. I opened up my slides and they were ready. I opened up the learner's work already. So everything was ready and the lesson went way better. I was way more successful. And I did just that in 5 minutes. I mean, I let go from my previous lesson, from my previous failure, and prepare for the next one. And I tackle it as efficiently as possible. I upgraded my lesson real quick. I updated my mind. I say, okay, so here I go again. I need to deliver this lesson because it's an important lesson for the learners. And it was a project that they needed to complete. So I was sorry by the guys that I laid down before, but I needed to think on the new guys, right? So I just got back on the horse and try again.
Exactly, like Tim mentioned, we have to juggle in between groups, in between assignments, and in between different levels of students, different ages. And we have to be ready with our best attitude, because it's not that the students' fault that we are feeling a little bit overwhelmed with the content or with the amount of work that we have. And like you say, you upgrade yourself and you upgrade your class. I think this is a very important point, Mario, because maybe I was feeling a bit clumsy doing something and I want to incorporate something that will make me feel better. So then you go and research, or you go and ask someone what might have worked better. And that way you're going to tackle and get back on the horse. I like that expression. So what a better way to put it in perspective, like, okay, forget that, go back on that horse and tame it.
Exactly. I mean, just letting go of these feelings is the main thing. I mean, once you let go of this and you realize that you're just a human, and we teachers have superpowers for sure, right? I mean, we are resilient and we try every time our best, every class, but still sometimes every now and then we can allow us to fail and upgrade ourselves. Just learn from that, right?
Exactly. We all have failures. And like you say there, we never stop learning and updating, like Denise mentions. And it's part of being teachers. We never stop learning. And I
Exactly.
think that's the best thing.
Right. So guys, what do you do to bounce back from failure when you are feeling down? Can you share some strategies with us in the chat box? That would be great. I mean, this is not the only one. Each of us has a process, right? Okay, so while we wait for some contributions, oh yes, I think that's my
That's the
favorite
best.
one.
Yes, you have to reflect on the experience. Oh yeah, going for a walk, breathe helps.
Oh,
Yeah,
Griselda, some
dancing.
TikToks. Yes, music. Cool. And Tim is
Sitting,
just right by the ocean, you know, so wow,
yes.
that's quite a walk.
I sit in my garden even though I have to fight the mosquitoes, but I do.
I mean, it's a price you have to pay, right? Yes, I mean, workout is awesome. I immediately play Panic at the Disco. It helps me. A Siggy, yes, sure.
Exactly, like you say, talk about
Well,
with peers, exactly, reflect on what you do. Guys, you really have very nice advice. Coffee, obviously,
they
it's
should be
great as
delivering
well.
this webinar, you know? I mean, they have
Yes.
great strategies. Awesome. Thank you.
Oh, dance. I love that. And with yourself. I mean, what better
Some
way to do
cumbias,
it?
right? Yeah, some cumbias are important.
Exactly.
Coffee,
Remind
sure.
ourselves that we are not perfect. Yes, we are not perfect, and we will never be, no matter how hard we prepare ourselves
99,
for it.
99% perfect, right? Sing,
Mhm.
cool. You
Yes.
need to sing for us someday, Maria Carmen. So moving on to our next topic, it's crisis and opportunity. So, I mean, did any of you see this coming? Anyone? If you didn't, I mean, if you did see the crisis coming, um, well, you might have prepared for it really well, right? But I think for many of us, we did not see it coming. And however, now that it's here, is it an opportunity? And how? How can we turn these hard times into something that can upgrade us and improve
Oh,
who we are,
mosquitoes are killing
right?
me. Take some.
So, for example, right here, um, when this started, maybe many of you were feeling down, right? Many of you were feeling like, oh my goodness, what am I gonna do? I don't know how to even turn on a computer. Computers and I go way back, and we don't have a good relationship, right? Our online program is not even prepared. I have to turn all of my materials, ready-made materials, into online materials from one day to another. It was just going crazy. But the first strategy, I think, is just to keep focus. Guys, we are still needed. Education is there for us. We are needed, and education's changing, and we need to change with it. And that's the main topic here. I mean, now that the crisis is here, there's nothing else but to face it as best as we can and move on, right? What do you think, Rosie?
Yes, I agree with you, Mario. And like someone mentioned there, I mean, we really have to keep on reinventing ourselves. And as many teachers there, we also have to rush into learning how to use platforms, how to use Moodle, how to really prepare a lesson that would be as engaging as a face-to-face lesson. So we were not prepared. And we really have to keep focused because we were actually trying to help our students also to strive. It was difficult for them as well not to be in a classroom and now to switch to an online lesson. It was also difficult for them.
What a nice point, Rosie. I mean, we are not alone in this. Like learners, teachers, parents, everyone that has to do with education is on the same boat right now. We are all struggling, and I think we just gotta focus on that we are all having a hard time here.
Yeah, now that you mentioned the parents as well, I mean, most teachers are also parents. And not only do they have to take care of their students, but also to their kids and be teacher to those kids. I mean, none of us have really an easy job nowadays. We have to juggle things and we have to become effective at it. Otherwise, we will just go crazy.
We will just go crazy. That's right. That's right. So now that we are focused, guys, and that we realize that although education is changing and everything was just uploaded to the online environment, well, there are some things that we need to unlearn. There are some things that we gotta change, right? The way I did this is I would stick to the basics. Everything that I learned in Celta, everything that I learned in Delta was still there and is still part of my classes. However, I still need to upgrade to the online environment. I need to learn the new tools. I need to learn maybe some new method, experiment, and just find the best way of blend my basic principles, my basic ideas, everything that makes Mario a teacher with the new 2020 teacher, with this crazy year teacher that we need this year, right? What about you, Rosie?
Exactly. On learning, I think is the most difficult thing for all of us teachers that have been teaching in a way. I am a very visual and crafty teacher. I always need to have materials and pasting and doing, but I cannot do this now with online lessons. So I have to reinvent myself on how to be also as creative and visual as possible, but still make it possible in an online environment.
Exactly.
So it is.
It's crazy, right? I mean, how can you adapt all of your teaching style to the online environment? You just gotta let go of many things or transform them, right? So, me that I have teenagers, sometimes that I was thinking like, how do I ask for the support of a prefecto? How do I ask for my coordinator to help me with some kids that are not following the rules? What about discipline? What am I gonna do? All of this, I mean, I had to unlearn it, leave it behind, and find new ways, find new strategies to keep to just try and keep my class like, I don't know, as I was before. It was just crazy, right?
Yeah, and like someone said, now in our curriculum, we have to say we survived COVID-19, and it will be part of our new curriculum. I think it's a great idea there. Someone that mentioned it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we are ready for anything and everything now. So the next point is that once that you've unlearned things, now once that you have blended all those principles that you have, all your teaching style, everything that you know already, well, it's time to expand. There's no comfort zone anymore. I mean, that's disappeared. You need to break free from that, find new tools, find new ideas, new strategies, everything that could help your lesson.
You are right, Mario. And also when we are training other teachers, we also have to be resourceful. I mean, we have to break free of the same proven methodologies like or apps that the teachers are using, but we need to keep on investigating what works best, and we will become more resourceful to help our teachers become better as well. I think every day I take a minute or some minutes just to see online what's new, what new webinars are there, what new apps I can use. And I just make my teachers part of this trend, and they have fun because they said, oh, I was always doing this with slides, but now I know I can do it with Jamboard, and I was doing this always with a Word document, but now I'm using Padlet. So I think that is part of becoming resourceful and also break free from that comfort zone.
Sure. Just past week, my learners had incredible results. They did great in their scores, and I really wanted to reward them, right? So normally what a teacher would do in high school or junior high is maybe play a video or have a music day or just have a special day where we just play games or things like that. But how do I do that now? How do I reward my students, right? So I was brainstorming with them, and they were like, hey, teacher, let's watch a movie. But how can I host a movie for you guys from the platform, right? So they were telling me, they were giving me the ideas for this, right? And then some of them said, let's play this video game, let's play that video game. But how do I get everyone on board? So let me tell you guys, I did it today. I play Among Us with some of my high school students. Wow, they were having tremendous fun. Tremendous fun. They were happy. And then the video game, that video game allows them to chat, to interact at the same time. And I say, okay, we're gonna play it, but everyone needs to do it in English. It was awesome. It was just a lot of production with one video game. It was so cool. So expand, break
It's
free.
like you say, Mario, it's not only creating a community, online community. We tend to think only a community of teachers, but we also need to create a community among our learners. So they also feel like they are achieving something. They're part of a community and they're not alone at home, just behind the computer. So I think it's basically the aim of this talk is to make you aware that we can come out of the crisis stronger and ready together, not only with our colleagues and our mentors, but also with our students. They are the ones that are keeping us here on our feet behind the computer. So hooray for them that is going that they
Yes,
are helping us
thank you, students, wherever
grow.
you are right now, right? Yes, yes,
Mhm.
exactly. Like Ilda is saying, you just need to push yourself. I don't know, find ways of helping the students, especially with different needs. I mean, needs like dyslexia, needs like TDA. I mean, I don't know. It's just
So
very
many.
difficult for them, for us. We just need to find strategies, right? And I think that once we expand, once we realize that the comfort zone doesn't exist anymore, we'll grow. And we'll dare and we'll seize those opportunities that this crisis is just giving us. It's well known that during times of crisis, we humans just evolve.
And that's what we should do. Take this opportunity and then just evolve, grow, and keep on learning.
What better way to do it by uniting, right? So maybe as you are teaching from home, you feel lonely, you feel that you don't have that pat in the back from your coordinator, from your coworker, but it's not that way. I mean, there are communities that you can enroll, belong to. Don't feel afraid to ask for help. I think this is the moment that we teachers need each other. What do you think?
Exactly. Especially asking for help. I mean, in a meeting, we once mentioned that it's not a time to have egos because we are all in the same situation. It is time just to be the best that we can. And if I can have an opportunity to help someone else, just go and do it. You know, if someone is reaching out for me, like I'm reaching out for others, then I can do for them. And we now, like you say, we need each other more than ever, not only the people you are working with, but maybe someone that you have really not contacted in a long time, but you know they're great teachers. So then you can also reach out for them. And then maybe why not reconsider having a united front again with a lot of ideas.
Exactly. I mean, we can always brainstorm things, ideas, lesson plans, activities, I don't know, things that work well for us, right? And this is what our next topic is about.
Uh-huh. And sadly, we are running out of time. We only have like 4 minutes, but basically, like we said, we have been already saying to you, who do you reach out when your ideas are sort of like getting out of your mind and then you are panicking? Well, always you can go and resort to colleagues, you know, people that are working with you. It is time to work together. We are not just working individually. And I think it's a great idea just to have maybe a group, a WhatsApp group like we do here at International House. Or maybe you can have a Facebook group or an Instagram group where you are sharing. You can have apps that they have used and then you have test them. You can also go and join webinars like you are doing now. You know, you have professional people giving ideas. You can learn a trick or two, you know, ideas that have been thoroughly researched. There are a lot out there, and basically you just have to go and do a little bit of research, invite friends that join the webinar with you. Like when you go out for a drink, You say, hey, let's go now and join a webinar and bring your glass of wine. So that
While
would be a
watching the
good,
webinar. Cool. That's a
sure.
great idea, Rosie. Yeah.
I mean, and like Carmen says, don't feel afraid to say, I don't know. I mean, it's perfectly valid. And another idea that I think that I always have in mind, and I just have never done it, is why not building your own community group? Maybe you can have a blog, or you can have, something like a podcast where you are sharing your ideas, not because you want to influence others, but more like you want to help others. I think it is the moment to be creative. And if you have something that can help you or can help others, you can build your own webinar or your own site
YouTube
to help
channel.
other teachers. A YouTube channel, exactly. Yes, exactly. So we have the International House community for 2021, like Orlando mentioned.
Sure,
I don't know,
sure,
Mario,
sure.
what do you have? What do you
Yeah,
have
I
to
mean,
say now?
normally
Just
it's
to...
with colleagues. Is normally is with colleagues, and all the tutors, my peers over here, we always help each other. It's fun to share just our materials, our classes. Don't feel like you have to do double work. I mean, I've got this material. Do you want to use it? Sure. So it's just great to contribute to each other's, make it easier for everyone, right? I have a couple of teachers at work, and we are always brainstorming ideas, trying to keep ourselves standardized, but at the same time having fun classes. We are trying to do the same thing to move learners towards a common objective. And I think that's part of a community, you know? If we all move together towards a common objective, it's just built in and contributes into the society we are right now.
Exactly. We cannot leave the students alone, but we can also leave teachers alone. I mean, we are a group of individuals that are working towards the same aim, and that is teaching English. And by teaching English, we change the lives of people. We don't know how far our enthusiasm and our teaching would go. So it is time to be together, thrive together. And why not? You can also go to teacher training sites, and because you will have new courses. For example, with us, you have a lot of courses that will prepare you for the new reality. And you can also meet people from around the world, which is basically amazing because they have other ways of teaching, they have different learners, and then maybe what worked for learners in Singapore is going to work for learners as well here in Mexico. But imagine the kind of community that you can create just by expanding in an online community. It's not only the people in your city and the people at your school, but it's actually the people that are in the same situation around the world. And I think we are ready for that.
Sure, sure.
Thank
I
you.
mean, I'm still in touch with my Celta pals. I mean, many of them, we still share ideas and thoughts. With my Delta peers, we still share ideas, we still share materials, we track each other's progress, successes, and I don't know. Right now, it's the moment, friends. I mean, if you always been like the kind of lone wolf teacher, this is the moment in which it's the moment to build a community. It's the moment to ask for help. It's the moment to help each other, or else we will burn out. We'll just burn out. We'll get tired. As Rosie mentioned, we are not alone in this. We are on the same boat. I see it with my candidates when I'm teaching Celta. Right now, I got a candidate that's from Mexico, another one that's from Miami, another one that's from India, and you won't believe the synergy that they have, how they communicate and how they help each other to deliver great lessons already. I mean, and they are so early in the Celta, and it's just great to see how three people from three different, very, very different teaching contexts are preparing towards the same goal, and they are always contributing to each other's lesson. Is just amazing.
Exactly. And we would just love to share more successful ideas and more success experiences, but sadly we are running out of time. And I think our boss has more other important things to say, but remember, you are not alone. Together we can make a difference in the lives of our students. but also in the life of other colleagues. So thank you so much, guys, for listening to us, and hope that you thrive with us. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. We love you. Keep raising those glasses.
Fantastic. So thank you very much, Mario and Rosie. I think everybody, truly enjoyed your talk, incredibly engaging, and just like I'm just going to piggyback on something really important that Mario and Rosie and Eliberto, of course, Eliberto had to go, to comply with other teach training responsibilities, and also equally to help other people. But I would just like to piggyback on something that that Mario and Rosie discussed right now, which was the idea of crisis, and that just quickly reminded me, yes, we are facing a crisis, and right now, this is how we feel, maybe, right? We feel like COVID-19 is going after us, of course. But an interesting thing they said was that crisis is an opportunity, right? And that reminded me of how the Chinese refer to crisis. The Chinese they have two strokes to refer to crisis. The first one is this one, and that means danger. Of course, everybody, when we say crisis, everybody thinks of like danger, but also they have the second stroke, which means opportunity. So that's a very interesting way of thinking about a crisis, right? And I think that's what everybody here is facing. We're facing an opportunity to reinvent ourselves, to be the best versions of ourselves, and simply to hopefully learn how to survive the apocalypse, right? And hopefully this is what we at International House University will be able to do. We'll be able to help you together as the family that we are. We'll help you be victorious in surviving the apocalypse. So thank you, guys. I really do hope that you enjoyed the talks today. I hope that you really had fun today. And before you go, guys, really before you go, I think we had a great audience today. Thank you for staying. We had several different people that kept coming in and out because you were logging in for different talks. Before you go, I'm gonna share in the chat box. I'm gonna share a link. There you go, and that's a link to a feedback form. And we will absolutely love it if you could spend just the next 4 minutes. It's not long. It's not a long Google form. Remember that we're doing this because of you, for you, and simply because we absolutely love being part of your family. And deep down, we really do hope that you consider us part of your professional family, guys. So if you could just spend 5 minutes answering that poll. The feedback is invaluable. The feedback is something that we really truly take incredibly serious, because remember that we have planned an entire year of seminars for you. This is something that you're going to find on our website. If you go to ihmexico.com, media room, I'm also going to post that right here in the chat. But if you go to that website, you'll see that we have loads of different webinars for all of this year, the academic calendar, the academic webinar. But in order to keep that calendar updated, we really benefit from your feedback. So if you could please answer 5 minutes, complete that survey, the feedback that I showed you in the chat box, we will truly appreciate it. Okay, there is one final question at the end, which reads what all the topics, sorry, no, did you feel that you're more confident about yourself and your teaching? Any feedback will help us prepare for the next round of webinars. Okay, so thank you all again. Spend some time answering that poll, and I guess that's all for today. Remember, however, that we have one more webinar tomorrow, right? If you don't have the link to the webinar for tomorrow, feel free to email me at ttmx. That's the email that I'm putting here right on the screen, and I'll be more than happy to send you the registration for tomorrow for tomorrow's webinar. Right? We have one webinar tomorrow. Cambridge Assessment English is closing our international day live experience, and as a premium partner that we are, they also wanted to join us tomorrow as part of the digital teacher series they are launching online, so that they also can come and celebrate the launch of our International House University with us tomorrow, live online as well. Okay, so thank you very much, guys, and stay healthy, stay mentally healthy and fit, and all the best for you. And thank you again to all of those speakers that joined us today. Thank you very much, and stay well, and goodbye. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. What time is tomorrow's webinar? Let me just, are we sending the diplomas? Yes, Maria, we're sending the diplomas. The webinar is at 4 tomorrow. Yes, so email me TTTMX. I'm gonna put that here, right here, TTMX, H Mexico. And I'll send you the link to tomorrow's webinar. Can I get the diploma, Irma? Yes, those people that attended the diploma will be receiving the diploma of attendance on Monday around 6 p.m. Right? What the topic for tomorrow? Cambridge Assessment English is here to celebrate with us, so they're going to be talking about the wealth, where the wealth online is going, and also we'll be talking about precisely some of the things that we briefly discussed today, but to further depth, we'll be talking about the new role of the online instructor. So what do we mean by actually being an online instructor, right? So that's the topic for tomorrow. Okie dokie. So thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone. And stay tuned for tomorrow, right? I'll be here with you tomorrow as well. Thank you, guys. And bye-bye. Take care. Bye-bye. The link, send me an email, Maria Cristina, and I'll send you the link to tomorrow's webinar. Bye-bye. Thank you very much, guys.